YouTube says it's sending data. Sending data. Excellent connection. Can't see anything. There we go. Hey, it works. Oh, we weren't sure. They said it wasn't going to work. All right. Let's start the show. Here we go.
Cool thing.
Fitter, happier, more productive, comfortable, not drinking too much, regular exercise at the gym 3 days a week, getting on better with your associate, employee, contemporaries, at ease, eating well, no more microwave dinners and saturated fats, a patient, better driver, a safer car, baby smiling in back seat, sleeping well, no bad dreams, no paranoia, careful to all animals, never washing spiders down the plug hole, keep in contact with old friends, enjoy a drink now and then, will frequently check credit at Moral, Bank, Hole in Wall, favors for favors, fond but not in love, charity standing orders on Sunday, Ring Road Supermarket, no killing moths or pouring boiling water on the ants, car wash, also on Sundays, no longer afraid of the dark or midday shadows, nothing so ridiculously teenage and desperate, nothing so childish. At a better pace, slower and more calculated, no chance of escape, now self-employed, concerned, but powerless, an empowered and informed member of society, pragmatism, not idealism, will not cry in public, less chance of illness, tires that grip in the wet, shot of baby strapped in back seat, a good memory, still cries at a good film, still kisses with saliva, no longer empty and frantic, like a cat tied to a stick that's driven into frozen winter shit, the ability to laugh at weakness, calm, fitter, healthier, and more productive, a pig in a cage on antibiotics.
Is that's not your diary, is it?
That's Radiohead, Fitter, Happier, the track that comes after Karma Police. Such a great album for these kind of times. The next track is Electioneering. Yep, Paranoid Android's like track number 2. Got to go deeper to get to Karma Police. Arrest This Man. His Hitler hairdo is making me feel ill. And we've just cracked the surface now. But yeah, it just goes right from that low Karma Police, that depressing, into this robot voice, Fitter, Happier, and it's so good. And then it goes from there to Electioneering, where he talks about buying your vote. And he says, I will stop at nothing. Say the right thing when electioneering. I trust I can rely on your vote. You know, so a pretty strong album, and dreary, very dreary. Perfect for these times, right? Perfect.
Talking of electioneering, do you know, you see the thing that was going around? Stephen King's getting a bit kind of vocal recently, and I think it was brought up by his book about like a car salesman or something that ended up becoming president and was like a real dodgy character that they're sort of comparing to Trump. But yeah, everything seeming like more and more like a Stephen King novel in general, like every day.
I saw he'd been putting out some really strong tweets. I found myself retweeting and following Stephen King lately, so that was new for me.
So what's the latest in Vegas from a contagion perspective? Are you hunkered down? You've got like sandbags around, and like a guard on the roof. You've got the owl. I know they've got the owl.
It's gotten pretty quiet here. They closed all the casinos and all the non-essential businesses. So we just have supermarkets, grocery stores, drugstores, dispensaries, gas stations, things like that, car repair stores, I think veterinarians. There's a lot of people that are deemed essential in today's society, but it's quiet out there. But I wouldn't know because I'm staying at home, because I've been staying at home before this, and I'm staying at home now. So just like to ask everybody to push the like button. I just pushed it myself, so we self-liked. We just hit 10 likes So
I
we're doing.
self-like too.
I know everybody does. Like
Something
that.
that sounds a bit dirty, doesn't it?
It's,
Self-liking.
it's not
It's
right.
almost like the new word for pleasuring yourself when you're talking to the priest in confession. It's like, I've been self-liking a lot recently,
It's like
Father.
when you retweet your own tweet. It's just not right.
Yeah. Oh no, I think retweeting your own tweet is fine. It's if you like your own tweet, then that's bad. And I always like,
How could you not
because
like your own tweet? It should come auto
yeah,
turned on. It should be like everything that I write, I like.
yeah,
And
that's
the
very
same
true.
thing with every YouTube video I watch. Every YouTube video I thumbs up because I want more people to watch them. And especially a call-in show like this, we're going to get way more interesting calls. I'll bet we're
Well,
going to get.
we've got someone who serves Stephen King in the chat.
Oh
I
yeah,
think,
let's see.
yeah, yeah. I need
Waitress
to pick
says Harvard
points.
care. Oh, I'll bet
Epic.
he's a weirdo. I like him a lot. I like his writing and just the style of the man. But I'd hate to have stories told about me eating at a cafe or whatever. But yeah, I'll bet Stephen King managed to stand out at the cafe. She'll
What
be
did
like,
he order? Did
yeah,
he
I know.
did
She'll
he
be
like
like,
order anything like totally messed up?
he
Like
used multiple spoons. He had a pre coffee spoon, a during coffee spoon, and a post coffee spoon. The spoons were kept separate on the tray by a toothpick. I mean, he had a whole system.
uh,
I don't know.
he,
Poor
he
guy.
he stirred his coffee with the spine of a crow.
When he left, the lights went out. So, but we need
Yeah,
to
it's
get
it's
the
kind of a bit crazy. It's not crazy up here, but they're starting to, they're doing the proper camp down. That a camp down would be much funnier
countdown. They
than
canceled the countdown.
let's do a camp down and a clamp down. So I think loads of rumors floating around about like National Guard coming in and all that. So I don't know how I don't know how crazy it's going to be, but still a lot of people freaking out. And the numbers, they seem to be a bit better, like better, not better, but you know what I mean. It seems to have slightly, tapered off slightly today. Maybe we've had a day of respite, not in Spain by the looks of it,
I don't know.
or
I
Iran.
think we've just gotten used to the numbers coming in every day, and that
Mm.
our new sport is following these numbers, and we're just getting a little numb to it probably as the days roll on. But yeah, we've got the lockdown. Well, it's not really a lockdown here. Just businesses are closed. Everyone's suggested to stay home, and I'm definitely doing that. We've got a video we're going to play for you a little later on with a general who talks about military plans to solve this, and will fill you with a lot of confidence because he seems like a talented and tactical guy, just a real together person. We'll play that. We've got some other videos we're going to play, so we're definitely going to lose our ad rights today. So be sure to donate and help out the fundraiser. Find that Bitcoin address down there in the details, so on and so forth. Because yeah, YouTube definitely doesn't like it when we play anything. It was great. I got a message on Facebook. They're like, "You use someone else's music in your video," and I'm sure by music they mean audio, and that's probably a recording of someone saying something, which is news and which is technically fair use, right? But Facebook's message to me was like, no, 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 you used it. We're muting part of your video. No appeals process, no fair use, no like we may have made a mistake. Just
They should all
boom.
they should all just
So
let you have the music as long as like YouTube forces auto references on and you can't monetize it,
well,
because they
that's
did
it
that with
gets a
my
little
like.
complicated there because like let's say we played like a 30-second clip, like I was listening to music this morning and I was like, boy, it'd be great to
Mm,
play this. Or yesterday I listened to the new Weekend and the new Childish Gambino and I was like, wow, these are cool. Like imagine if I could have music on my show, I could bring people in and make it less boring and all that. No, no, no. They would take for like a 3-hour show. Like if we do a 3-hour radio show here, and we played 30 seconds or even 10 seconds of music, they would take the ads for the whole show. So there's no sharing. That's part of the problem. They take everything. And then the other problem is, what if I played multiple songs? Now they're cutting up my ad rights amongst multiple people.
but you
So
should, if you have used a song, you could forfeit that and say, right, if I'm using a song, F it, in this instance, this video, using multiple songs or whatever, I forfeit any ad rights from the video.
well, and I
And
wonder
then
what they would do because I've wanted to talk about music for a while now, and it's been
yeah,
unmentionable because you can't play a song to talk about the lyrics because you can't play a song, and we can't play songs to discuss together, especially in these quarantine times. How about getting people together and watching a film and doing live commentary? That'd be pretty fun. Like that's a pretty, out of the box creative thing and not very difficult technically. But
Mm.
I think that they would, well, it gets pushy because I mean, I know like from my own experience, I did a bunch of videos where I cut up Star Trek and I made it into ships only. And I think
It's incredible. If you
that's
haven't seen it, it's incredible.
they're pretty good, but I think
Yeah,
that's transformative, right? That
yeah.
changes the video. It's a new story. It's like I used someone else's words, but I made a new poem with it. So it's a unique art of itself. For most of them, that was fine, and I got through. And they took the ad rights, and they tell you to buy Star Wars, and that's fine. I want you to buy Star Wars. I don't, the movie that I made the video out of is a perfect advertisement for that video. But the problem came later on with the new Star Wars. The new Star Wars, they put some kind of a little artifact inside of the video. And later on, when they played the video back, they found the artifact and they said, "Oh, we own this." They didn't say there was like fair use or there was some kind of things. They're like, "Oh, we own this." So they weren't letting that go out. So I'm afraid if we ran this like a real radio show, played some music at the beginning, played some music in the middle, talked about the great new Weekend album, talked about the pretty weird new Childish Gambino album, but maybe all of his albums are like that. I don't know. It was weird. If we did that, I think they'd take down the whole video. I think that's where the rub is. I think that's why we don't have any music. So
Unless you can maybe learn the fiddle or something and then come up with a jiggle yourself.
I sang the other day, and I expected more complaints in the comments. The comment section surprisingly quiet, considering I sang a cappella for several minutes on the opening of a show the other day. But it was Kenny Rogers, so it's like well within my range. It was funereal,
Legend.
so it was like an honor thing. Like they probably gave me some, ease up on the missed notes for the honor part. But no, and I'm not saying I'm going to sing more. I'm not inspiring that. I like the reading part at the beginning. That's a good idea. But
So Kenny, he wasn't a COVID victim then, was he? He was. What were the causes?
Oh, Kenny was just an old guy. They just said it was old age. They didn't really say.
I did read that someone or a few reports saying that there's a lot of tallying of deaths around COVID because they're just assuming that some of the old people that are dying without testing them, they're just being assigned COVID because they've had certain symptoms. So there's lots of it's a very difficult time for information right now because there's so many sort of different sources, different people having different experiences. So yeah, it's very difficult for people to find the right sources to believe. But the situation today, there's less deaths than yesterday, so that's kind of definitely a positive.
Yeah, and it was sad to see old Kenny go, but he'd been here a long time, had a good run. I don't know much about him personally or anything like that. He kind of reminds me of Tom Petty, where Tom Petty just stayed on tour till he died. And maybe that wasn't the best plan. Maybe he should have went to the doctor a couple more times and we could have had some more Tom Petty tours. But he just performed and performed and then whoop and no more. So, but Tom Petty not as old as Kenny. I drank water wrong, so I can't really talk right now. This is a great move.
But they're definitely the audience is loving your voice. You should do like one of those the sleeping videos, like the or like general narration. I think you could be the next Morgan Freeman. Like
we could definitely have fun with that. There's a lot of ASMR videos, right, where you're like, this is the sound of my voice. And
yeah,
blah, 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 blah.
That's it. What was it? ASMR.
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 They do all the scratchy things, and they're like. I don't know. People wearing headphones are like, "What's going on this show? I'm taking my like away. I'm taking my like back. Down. Changed my mind. Refund." So, but we do need to start the show. Today is Monday, March 23rd, 2020. My name is Thomas Hunt. This is the Thomas Hunt Show. So that makes sense. We're joined by Dan. How's it going, Dan?
Hey there.
All right, let's check out the price of Bitcoin. We talked enough that it went up more. The price of Bitcoin is up. I have to turn the big monitor. Here we go. Price of Bitcoin is up 8.08% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 6,294, a high of 6,570, and a low of 5,742. Backwards? That's $1 for 15,906 Satoshis, very close to the 15,000 Satoshi barrier. Checking out the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is open for once, and it's down 3.78% in the last 2 to 3 hours, with a last of 18,435 and a previous close of 19,173. Despite the promises of infinite money and a last-minute announcement that set the futures soaring, Bitcoin soaring, that they plan to print $300 billion and have a, what did they describe it? Endless buyback. I think that was it. Endless buyback of options and bonds and so forth. They're rushing in to save the bond market. Yesterday,
Unlimited.
On 60 Minutes, we had this incredible video with the Federal Reserve. One of the chairmen of the Federal Reserve. He's got the crazy eyes going here. But wait till you see what he actually says. I mean, you want to get the crazy going. So let's see. Let's see if we get audio.
You don't need to. Your ATM is safe. Your banks are safe. There's enough cash in the financial system, and there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. We will do whatever we need to do to make sure that there's enough cash in the banking system.
Face. An infinite amount of cash. Infinite amount of cash.
One more time so you guys are ready for it. Here we go.
The sorcerer.
It's pretty amazing. Here we go. Let's see. What's he going to say? Oh, Twitter video is just the worst. Like, do they ever test this thing? They're like, well, if you want to watch the video twice, you're going to have to exit full screen, go full screen again. Then, no, not even then. Well, anyway, he said infinite money printing, that they can print infinite amounts of money from the Federal Reserve. That's infinite with an I. So everyone, all the Bitcoiners have always joked about this, but here it is. They can print an infinite amount of cash, which doesn't make any sense to anyone. Even your hardest Keynesian or whatever would never say infinite. Like this kind of, it reveals the man behind the curtain, right? You're like, well, we have this money printing system, and it used to be based on gold, and it used to be based on silver, and you used to have a limit, and you used to have to get more gold or get more silver to have more money. But now we have an infinite amount. We have infinity. So shockingly, despite infinite cash, the market still went down. What do you think, Dan?
I'm just saying, like, I heard 4 trillion is like an earmarked figure, because there's like $2 trillion coins, and then there's another couple that they've got. And I just want to remind everyone that QE stands for not quantitative easing, but questionable economics. Remember that.
Here it is again.
Your ATM is safe. Your banks are safe. There's enough cash in the financial system, and there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. We will do whatever.
There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There is an infinite amount. So
okay, I'll give 10,000 sats to the first person to like merge that in with Jafar from what's his name, Aladdin, becoming a sorcerer, and be like, an infinite amount of cash.
Itty bitty leaving space.
And there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. We will.
And there is an infinite amount of cash. I love this.
An infinite amount of cash. An infinite amount of cash at the Federal.
Okay, so now we have something to put on the little buttons. So I'm going to write this down. Let's see. Put on buttons. Infinite amount of cash. And then we can have one of those things where you're just like, but it'll be an infinite amount of cash. Womp, womp. An infinite amount of cash. Infinite. Everyone will be like, yes, yes, infinite amounts of cash. Infinite.
Did you see the video posted today? I think it was today. It was the Star Wars video, where she's like, I can't remember her name now, Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
And she says like, oh, I can't believe they're like cheering the downfall or the downfall of liberty.
Sure.
Like, wow, crazy.
It's classic.
Deep,
system,
right there.
And there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. We will do whatever.
There's an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
And there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. We will do whatever we need to do.
Hi-oh. Oh, that's great. I can't believe he said that. Like, and he said that on purpose. Like, he clearly came in with like a plan to say that. That's clearly his planned speech. He rehearsed it. He's ready to go. He's like, because remember, this is to reinsure people. So for everyone else, this is incredibly reassuring. Let's go back to the reassuring part.
Your ATM is safe.
Your ATM is safe. Your banks
There's
are safe.
enough cash in the financial system, and there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. We will do whatever we need to do to make sure that there's enough cash in the banking system.
Like, there was a problem. Like,
I'm worried.
Remember when you didn't have enough cash? Like, I didn't have enough cash, and then they just printed more, and they gave it to me, and that didn't affect anything. Like, remember, this cash printing. I think we need to go to the thing. I can't believe it. I had it way later in the show, but we're gonna bring it way up to the beginning here. Because like now it's time, right? It's time.
Money printer go.
Vroom, 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 vroom. So now we just can't get enough money printing.
And there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. We will do.
All right, we're gonna keep going, and then we're gonna come back and play that some more, and then later on we're gonna isolate that into a GIF file or audio wave file, and we're gonna get that on the big board here, and we're gonna be pushing that button forever. That's the best. This is my favorite new button. We're gonna get it soon. Oh shit, we're gonna go back to the real news. Dan, you ready? Okay.
There's definitely not an infinite amount of Bitcoin, just to clarify as well.
Yeah, no.
Everyone knows that.
I saw someone on Twitter, they said something great. They said that, on Bitcoins, they're going to have this forced halvening. And then on the other side, the Federal Reserve is going to have a massive printing. And it'll just be these two comparisons that you can really, really like Bernie versus Trump. Like, you can really get a different, I like this. Oh, I like this. Those things are completely different. So it's going to be exciting.
Everyone likes unlimited money, man. Like, to the average person, it does sound like a reassuring thing. It's like, oh, they've got us covered. They've got unlimited money. We'll never run out. So they kind of think of the opposite. They think they don't realize the scarcity.
Well, I mean, everyone's got to think it comes from somewhere. I mean, even if we were just talking about pennies or coins, you're like, well, if you had an unlimited amount of pennies, where are you going to get them from? It's just at a certain point, everyone has to say, where's that money coming from? But that's not to say, like, I mean, I'm still on the kind of on the printing side here. Like, we need to print. Like, if we're gonna save our industries, like, basically the world's gonna hit a huge road bump, right? And whether it's a speed bump and we keep going, or whether it's a giant world-ending pothole and we have to rebuild the entire automobile, like, it's better if it's a speed bump, right? And what they're talking about with the money printing and is with the saving the industries and paying restaurant people and trying to, keep people from running out of money and not being able to buy food and dying and going out on the street and rioting. And that's probably going to happen anyway. But the idea that they're trying to stop that is so that it's more like a speed bump, less like a world-ending catastrophe, giant pothole as large as the car. Like, as large as the car. The entire car goes in the pothole. The entire car, then we remember back and we're like, remember when we had a car? And then we have to, from memory, we have to design pieces of the car to rebuild the car. So it's going to take a long time. If we go over a speed bump, it would be a little better. So that's what they're talking about. But let's get to the serious news. We haven't refreshed the page probably since yesterday. So here we go, the big refresh on Worldometers. Coronavirus cases went up from 320 to about 360,096 cases. That's 15,439 deaths. Seems only a few days ago we were at 10,000 deaths. So that's a 50% increase from 10,000. Stay the fuck home. Don't go outside. You could spread it to other people. You could get it yourself. That's it. Wear a fucking mask. It might be hard to find a mask, but you can make a mask or wear a scarf. You should wear some kind of protection if you're around other people. I saw a lot of great videos in Vegas this week of people helping out, getting all the donated food from the casinos and putting it on trucks to take it to people or whatever. And none of them were wearing masks because you really can't get a mask in the United States unless you want to pay like $20 a mask or something. And even then, I don't know where you'd get it. You'd probably just get ripped off.
I know where you get it. So
did
you hear about Facebook somehow have pulled out of their ass 750,000 masks? Zuckerberg's like, I'm pretty like it's circulated quite a lot. I'm pretty sure it sounds like it's real. But they're like, we just happen to have 750,000 masks.
Probably from the fire. It was probably from because a lot of the California, like, okay, so no one planned ahead for this pandemic. We're not like Hong Kong or China where they have forethought and they think ahead and they're like, maybe we should have a big stockpile of masks and gloves, just in case something goes bad. It wouldn't cost us that much money. We'd have like a big warehouse full of them, a couple warehouses maybe. But no, we don't have that. So probably from the California fire, Zuckerberg and Facebook as an employer there stocked up on a bunch of masks. So I think they're donating them to the hospitals and stuff. So still doesn't help your normal people. Your normal people need to make some kind of a mask, follow these instructions, get some kind of a mask, wear a scarf. Basically, I had to ask questions on this because no one's talking about it on the media. So of course I didn't know. But I asked my friend, I was like, do these really help? Will anything help? Do you need a fancy mask? Do you need an N95? Do you need an N99 mask?
As Rolando Tech says, you can use women's Always Ultra with wings as a mask. Think outside the box.
There you go. It's possible. Any kind of filter.
You'd be the talk of the town.
I saw a video on Twitter. We should probably play it. I think I retweeted it. I'm not sure. The guy had a Nike Air shoe on his face. He had the laces tied around his back, and I'm sure it's a joke or something, but he had the shoe, so he was breathing through the shoe. So I'm sure it smelled terrible. And I don't know the filtration value of like a leather shoe with holes in it and so on and so forth. I don't think it would be very good. But people are desperate. So
not even Nike Air Max?
I think it was an Air Max because, that would have the maximum filtration. So, but yeah, cloth masks. That's what they're saying. People are making cloth masks locally. If you have a sewing machine, if you know how to sew, if you're looking for something to do, making masks would be a great thing to do. You could probably donate them to your local hospital, or if they won't take them, maybe a retirement home or a school or anything that's still open where people would need this, maybe first responders or grocery store people. Even the grocery store people, everyone that's restocking, I don't see them wearing masks. I don't see the grocery store people wearing masks. I don't see the president wearing a mask. I saw a great picture yesterday of, I think it was the Slovakian president, and she was wearing a maroon dress, and she had a very stylish maroon mask, and her 3 guards behind her all had traditional white masks on. And I thought it was a great show. She was making a public speech. And I thought it was a great show to her people of the right thing to do. Whereas if you watch our goofball speeches in America, they're standing shoulder to shoulder. They're not wearing masks. One of them has a guy in his office who got sick. It's like, how close is it? How close is it to this room? Well, Pence had a guy in his office who got sick. We're right there. And they are still pretending that they can sack it up for these press conferences instead of presenting the right image to the people at home, that they should be standing apart. At the very basics, they have PR people, they have entertainment people working for them. They can say, come on guys, let's just stand apart. The press, I know it's the press room and the press room sucks, but even the press in the press room are sitting seats apart, which is no doubt costing them half the press corps. Like, they're taking a sacrifice there. But yeah, no, you can't have half the important people wait in the room next door or something. It's your turn to speak. Come on out. I don't see it. So let's keep going. Like this show. Hey, 33 people have liked this show. That's really good. That's a lot of people. We have 49, almost 50 people watching. I've noticed on our other shows, we've been getting now, thanks to your support, around 50 likes a show. And if we get 50 likes a show, we get about 500 viewers. So I wonder if we got 100 likes a show, if we'd get 1,000 viewers. I'm not sure it just works that way, but I'm pretty sure that the more likes we get, the more YouTube recommends this video. And then we get more callers and more people in the chat and everything. It just works better, right? So
I just sent over a quick link, which is it's just the BTC volume for the last year. And actually, we've, for the first time since I think it is the 4th of April last year, we've had a highest volume. That was the last time we had volume this high, and that was on like a couple of days ago. So I think it seems like it's starting to spike up a bit. Obviously, we've got the halving coming up in what matter of months, so should be some very interesting times ahead.
looks like we've got a caller right here.
Good times.
Let's see. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good morning, Bitcoin. How's it going, Thomas?
It's going good.
This is Mustafa.
Hey, Mustafa.
Been a while, man.
Hey, still driving around, or you quarantined like everybody else?
I'm not like everybody else, my friend. I'm driving around.
Hey,
reporting
essential.
to you live.
Essential
from
personnel.
Midland, Texas.
Midland, Texas, from the outside. Wow, the outside world. What's it like out there?
Yeah. Well, here in Texas, you would never tell that there was a pandemic going on. There's like absolutely no difference in people's lives here. Everyone's out and about doing whatever. I have not seen one mask. Like
no
you said
masks.
about masks. You just guys
I know. I was
haven't seen
trying to
one.
say, just as a precaution, they did this study on pandemics, and they were like, well, does it help? Like, sure, you can't get the fancy mask, but I mean, you got a piece of T-shirt taped up on your your face. Does it help? And they said, yeah, across the board, wearing a mask lets less microbes into your mouth. So it just reduces your possibilities. And nothing's 100%. You're not bulletproof. Let's not get silly. And certainly hospital people should have hospital masks. But if you're just out there and you don't want to get it, I think the mask would be good. I think the gloves would be good. Of course, you got to, take the gloves off and dispose of them because they're contaminated and so on and so forth. It gets complicated. But so driving around, are the other truckers, are they believing in this? Is this a government conspiracy? Mustafa, what do you think the general feeling is? How do people feel?
It's definitely, most people in the Midwest at least are not really believing it, or they are, but not taking it as serious as possible, and they think it's a political thing more than an actual medical emergency. I guess it's just because nobody has really seen like a case that's close. No family member is sick yet. No one's thinking this is gonna affect them personally. I think out here, not here in Texas, but I mean I'm talking about like just generally like in the Midwest. What I did see though a few days ago, I was driving through Nebraska, and I was impressed that in Nebraska all the truck stops they were handing out disposable gloves to whoever was pumping gas. They had masks, which was crazy. They were handing out free masks in truck stops in Nebraska, in Wyoming as well.
That's interesting to see the state by state nature of the response. I wonder if it's a specific gas company that's doing that, or if it's the actual state, making it legal or just taking it seriously. Because it really
Honestly,
is.
I don't think there's anything that it's not a state thing at all. I think it's just a business to business thing. I think it's just either each business is kind of taking care of their own or deciding to do their own thing.
That's
even in Chicago is I have a lot of friends. I'm kind of sort of from Chicago, not really, but
you can claim it. It's all right.
I don't want to. I'm Californian, true and true.
There you go. California.
Yeah. But I have a lot of friends in Chicago that have businesses, and some of them are still open. They said, we weren't mandated to close like multi-carrier phone stores or some essential businesses that are still open, you know, and they're like, we are fearing for our lives, but at the same time, you know, we don't know when they're going to ask us to permanently close, and then we won't have any money coming in. So we're trying to stay open as long as possible, you know, from a financial point of view.
It's really amazing. Most people don't understand, but not only are normal people in America living kind of hand to mouth, right? But the businesses are also living hand to mouth. If they miss business for a month, maybe 2 months, they can't pay their rent. The business is over, you know, 50-year restaurant, anything like that, like gone, you know, just gone.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of scary if you think about it, you know, that the you know, small businesses are considered the backbone of this country, and to find out that they're that fragile, just goes to show how fragile this country really is.
And a lot of people are predicting the way the bailouts are currently being designed and just the way things are looking, that it's the large businesses that are going to gain an advantage from this. Walmart, Amazon, major businesses, Grubhub, things like this are gaining huge toeholds, while all these smaller restaurants are probably going to go out of business. Getting the money to them and saving them is not that easy.
Yeah, I would even say that it's almost impossible to get it in time, at least. You know, I paid my taxes this year, and then they said you don't have to pay until July. You know, and I was like, oh man, I should have waited. You know.
Well, at least you have the pressure off.
You know,
at least you don't have to think about it anymore. You got it done. So.
Right. Yeah, I know. But you know, you always think about, oh man, I could have had that much money for another 3-4 months or whatever to invest or reinvest in my business or whatever.
Yeah.
From a business standpoint, I'm a little depressed about that. A little too late.
Well, while you're driving
Bitcoin's
around,
been on sale, man.
Yeah.
So that's been a good thing so far.
Well, while you're driving around out there, let me have Dan ask you a question. Dan's from England, so he was really impressed to see the desert near Las Vegas and L.A.
Oh, I loved it.
So, Dan, why don't you ask Mustafa a question? He's driving through Texas. He's driven through Nebraska. He's driven all over. So ask him like a good driving question or something.
Yeah, well, what's your favorite road? Because we had a little bit on Route 66 and 15, and the road from California, from Los Angeles to Vegas is epic. Just that drive through, what's it called?
Death Valley.
Death Valley.
Mojave.
Yeah. So what's your favorite road to drive?
That's a hard question to answer. I guess I would say depending on the vehicle that I'm in, the road would change. You know, if you're in a sports car, I would say maybe going up into Canyon, LA County, or something like that would be nice. Going up Highway 1 if you had a nice car. If I'm in a semi truck like I am right now, then I would just say whatever kind of road that doesn't go by any big city.
Yeah.
So maybe Interstate 80 from like Cheyenne, Wyoming, all the way to Salt Lake City.
Nice.
That's a pretty nice stretch of road in the summertime. In the winter, it's brutal, but in the summertime, I would definitely recommend that drive.
Yeah, it was amazing. I drove out there at one
beautiful
time, and they had these big wooden things on the side of the road, kind of shaped at an angle. And I was like, what are those for? You know, and I got to town or whatever, and I asked some people, and they're like, those are for snow drifts, to keep the snow from blowing across the road. And I was like, wow, the snow must be really bad that you have to build physical things. And then even then, we know they don't really work. Like, it's still going to be super.
I was just going to tell you. Yeah, I was just going to say they do a horrible job. Because I was just driving through there about 4 days ago, 4 or 5 days ago, and hauling a load that was not that heavy, and man, I was getting pushed all over the place. It was one of the scariest drives of my life.
See, the best drive in the summer becomes the scariest drive in the winter. So. Yeah,
absolutely. So make sure if you pass along this advice, make sure you tell people don't drive there in the winter months. They will hate you.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Mustafa, for the call. It's good to hear from you again. Glad to hear you're still out there driving, doing good. So.
Yeah, man, staying clean, staying safe. I got a big old bottle of hand sanitizer here, and I'm spraying anybody I pass by that looks dirty. You guys need some? I'm knocking my windows.
Nice, man.
Nice.
Right on.
All right.
Keep it up, and
All
give
right,
us a
take
call
care.
anytime. We'll talk to you again soon. All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And
Bye-bye.
you can give us a call now or at any time at 1-518-600-1949. I'll go find that number. I'll put it in the chat. You can also call us on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word.
I definitely miss your roads. They're incredible. Like being back on English roads is just insane. There are potholes everywhere. It's a great opportunity for them to fix a load of infrastructure, I think.
I found the English roads seemed like they were low to the ground and a lot of curves. And there was a lot of points where I felt I was like shifting in the seat and doing that. Jennifer in the chat says the snow fencers are for livestock shelter, not to stop the snow from blowing. So apparently it's impossible to stop the snow from blowing. It sounds like a pointless exercise. So fascinating for livestock shelter. So I didn't know that. You learn something every day, right? So let's see what else is going on. We talked to this guy, the Infinite Money. I think we're about to check the U.S. cases. Previously, we had 27,000 on here. That's not going to hold. Ooh, that hurts. We went from 27,000 to 40,000 cases. Seemed like the deaths stayed rather low. Still 479 deaths, under 500. But again, with 40,000 cases, if we're doubling every 2 days, that means we're 2 days away from 80 and 4 days away from 160. If we're doubling every 3 days, 3 days to 80, 6 days to 160. So we're going to see some big numbers here. And again, this is even if these are, decreased numbers because we don't have enough tested or these are invalid, just the numbers that we have to go with keep doubling. So is not good. This is the enemy. Know the enemy.
Oh, your enemy.
Wash your hands with soap, hot water. Kill the enemy. Avoid the enemy. Stay inside. Defeat the enemy. That's right.
Pretty creepy looking, isn't it?
Oh, it's a vicious. And I don't know. It's just a great graphic, but not to say it's man designed, but it just looks like something man would design. I don't know. It just has that something about the look of it. It's just like, that looks like a killer MFer. I'll bet we had a hand in that. It's just like, you don't have any evidence. You don't have any reason or any positive, you just look at it. And it's that whole Blink thing with the experts where they get the experts to look at the statues and they're like, that statue is fake. I don't know why. Something about that statue strikes me as fake. And
Are you saying that this is looks intelligently designed, as it were?
I don't know. It's probably just because it's a virus and it's like the highest form of evolution and it's just such a high level. And I'm probably just impressed by the symmetry. I mean, something like that. But yeah, these are some impressive spiky balls of death, right?
Like a precious snowflake.
Yeah, this is the thing you kill when you put your soap on your hands.
Like
And this is the thing
snowflake.
you don't want in your mouth. This is the thing that gets in your mouth and like gets you
Don't catch
spiky
that.
balls. Like, you'll be able to see them because they're red things. They're.
I saw a really crazy video of
Would be
people coughing and throwing sneezes. Have you seen that one?
No, that sounds awful. That sounds as
it's
bad
weird.
as those idiots at spring break. And I don't know if we'll get to the story today, but we do have an update on those idiots from spring break. They got sick. Hello.
Did they?
Hello. Oh yeah, those morons. Like, I hope
Savage.
they do an update video where it's like, hey man, I just wanted to go party spring break, man. Woo. And it's like, hey man, I went to spring break and it was a big mistake.
They went from hey man to amen.
That's right. Bar party people. So here's a great quote from Casablanca. I was watching a little of this morning. He says, "My dear Rick, when will you realize that in this world today, isolationism is no longer a practical policy?" I thought that had a lot to do with our times today, because even though we want to be isolated and we want to stay away from each other, it's simply not practical. It doesn't make any sense. Like, we're going to have to go outside. Like, everything is interconnected. And when we cure this thing, we're going to have to cure it for everybody. Like, the whole world needs to gain immunity to this so that the rest of us can walk around and not get it from everyone that's carrying it. So we really are interconnected. Isolationism just isn't going to work, right? This is not it. Oh, they want the link to the video to the idiots from spring break. Oh, it would be deep in the archives, but I'd love to pull that up. It was great yesterday. I feel sorry for them, but they make their own choices. But yeah, you'll have to go back and find that one. If I find it, we'll try to pull it up, but it would be cool. They say, Dan, have you seen that Tiger King documentary about the gay dudes with tigers?
No, it was advertised last night, but I chose to watch something else instead. The thing with, I'll go on to that later. But yeah,
I don't know what it is.
It looks really cool.
It sounds like Siegfried and Roy. I don't know what you guys are talking about. But,
he obviously trains. It's not Siegfried and Roy though, is it? It's just another. It's another.
I've never heard. This is my first hearing of it, so I'm not aware of it. But yeah.
It looks pretty crazy. I saw the trailer.
All right. Well, Norm Skis is telling you to check it out, man. He probably says it's awesome, not just good.
No,
not just good.
Right,
awesome. So above good, capable of bringing awe. I love awesome. It's a really good word. We never really you think of it as a surfer word and like a shitty word, but no, it's like awe, like full of awe. Like wow, you were full of awe. Like when you enter a really great church and you're like, oh, awesome. Like it's full of awe. Here we go. I like the way I have to push more buttons. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network.
Hello.
What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but
we
might be on a delay if you're listening on the computer.
Hello.
I'm
calling in.
Yeah.
I wanted to speak to you about what was going down. It's a crazy world. And obviously... Oh, I can hear you now.
Yeah, there's a bit of a delay. You might want to just give a comment or a question, and we'll just hang out. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I was just going to say, I just wanted to say a comment to the world. It's crazy time. Crypto's taken a beasting, which is to be expected. It was fascinating to see what's being built out there, particularly some of the health data on Bitcoin SV. We know, obviously, putting politics aside, technology and the situation we're in, we hope the world comes together for the benefit of the world, So keep up great work, folks. Have a great time.
Oh, thanks so much. Thanks for calling in, and give us a call anytime. There is some interesting stuff. Health data. It's a funny story about health data. A friend of mine, I don't want to name him. I don't want to get him in trouble, but let's just say he's great at businesses and everything, but he's always kind of 2 or 3 years early. And he's great. Like all of his ideas are solid and they come true in the future, but 2 or 3 years later. And yeah, he was into health data and blockchains. I want to say 4 years ago or something. He was rocking it. And and then of course, couldn't get funding, too early. Software wasn't there, all that kind of stuff. And then of course, years later now, of course, everything is health chains and blockchains. And he would have been perfectly placed. But of course, he moved on to another project and so on. So it's interesting to him to say SV there. I thought it might be Shem Booth Spain. I really did. He had the voice like Shem, and if it was Shem, you could have said hello, Shem. I don't care about the SV thing. I'll talk to you. I'm not going to specifically talk to you about SV that much by choice if I have a choice. But you're a nice guy. I don't care if you're into SV or whatever. People got choices they got to make. So. Let's see.
I've just pinged you a link, Tom. It was quite a funny one on Twitter it was a snippet of the Surgeon General, and some people believe that he said something other than what he actually did say, which was you hear it. It's really funny. Apparently.
All right, let's see what Surgeon General said.
Here we go.
Would you like to answer that?
It's so obvious.
Please.
It's a conspiracy theory.
Surgeon General.
We know. Donate blood. Donate blood.
He obviously says donate blood, but now there's this massive thing that he's saying don't eat blood because of vampires.
That's a pretty ridiculous stretch. I really think he said donate. From just a first hearing. Let's one more try just for the guys.
Don't eat blood.
Surgeon General.
We know. Donate blood. Donate blood.
Yeah, no, it's just something about he just kind of says it on the way out that it's kind of
He clearly
weird.
says donate blood, but obviously it's just funny how people can take something and just be like, "Oh my god, they said
Well,
donate
I don't
blood."
know. I think
Crazy
these people have
monsters.
mental problems. So, like, I think it's fun and everything, but no, I don't think he said don't eat blood. Like,
No.
yeah. All right, but let's get to the serious clip of the day. As you guys know, everyone should be following Balaji on Twitter at BALAJIS. Mr. Balaji Srinivasan. Oh, well, I tried. But Balaji, he started 21.co. He started earn.com. He worked for Coinbase for a while. He's a big VC type character. And he was right about the virus, and he likes to be right about it every day. He early on was mad when people were saying that the tech bros weren't shaking hands anymore. He switched to fist bumps early on. He's a legendary fist bumper, not like those handshaking tech bros. So anyway, but he's been right on ever since then. So he says, okay, it's just one clip, but by far the most intelligent I've heard any government official say in the last few months. Further increases the likelihood the military will take over COVID response in the near future. And again, I called for this, I predicted this, and if it's a guy like this running it, and just listen to 3 minutes of this, and actually, it's amazing. It's the opposite of a Trump speech. When I watch one of those Trump speeches, and again, this is irrespective of one's politics, when you watch a speech of someone unprepared, not knowing what they're talking about, looking like a fool, bumbling all around, saying random things, it doesn't fill you with confidence. It fills me with like, holy shit, I need more canned food, and maybe I should sell all my stock, right? Every single time he speaks. But let's watch this guy in 3 minutes change your mind about the United States response.
So, Barbara, before I talk about a specific state, I think it's important to kind of lay out our concept here because you've not heard this, and we're going to talk about this a lot probably in the next couple of weeks. First of all, the Corps of Engineers obviously works for DOD and anything we need to do there, but we also here are actually representing FEMA under direct mission assignments that states send to FEMA and then send back down to me for taskers. This is an unbelievably complicated problem, and there's no way we're going to be able to do this with a complicated solution. We need something super simple. So our concept here is a standard design. This is the approved design. It's already been through HHS, briefed the members of the White House, and through FEMA. What we want to do is we want to go into existing facilities primarily. Places that are out there, and I'm mainly going to talk and make it simple, hotels, college dormitories, and perhaps large spaces. So I'll give you an example of a small room and a large room. What we need to do is we need to go in there. These hotels are empty. The people don't have jobs. We would go in and cut a contract to be able to have the state set up a lease with that particular facility, and then we would then take the building over in a period of exceptionally short amount of days, and we would go in and turn this into an ICU-like facility. So there's really 4 different phases. The state has to nominate the facilities in a prioritized order, and I'll talk about Governor Cuomo in a minute. Number 2 is the Corps of Engineers has to come in and to be able to modify for that facility. And we can go into more details and other questions, but it goes back to be able to change the pressure in certain hotel rooms to be able to have a negative pressure in a hotel room. The third thing is then you've got to be able to put the supplies in that. And FEMA, working with HHS, is come up with a list that every single hotel room would get the same amount of supplies. It would just go in and all right be there. And then the fourth step is to be able to staff it. This has to be a state job. The state has to put the people in there. You got to clean it and train it. And therefore, just think, you've all been in hotels. Think of the second floor of a standard hotel. The rooms would be like a hotel room, and then we would build nurses stations in the halls. We would have all of the equipment wireless going into the nurses station so you could monitor how those are going to work. Now, let me correlate this back to New York. We want to use New York as this standard setter. And when I met with Governor Cuomo, he said right up front, what can I do? And I said, the biggest thing you need to do is start identifying facilities. And he said, how fast do you need them? I said, I need 1 tonight. I need 3 by tomorrow night. So we actually got turned on by the governor. We got money from FEMA to go into buildings on Tuesday night. We did the Javits Center yesterday, and we were into some of the SUNY schools yesterday. Today, my engineers were walking through 10 other buildings. 5 of those are hotel-like capabilities, and 5 of those those are open spaces to be able to continue to be able to figure out what does right look like. And then we give this design to a contractor, and then he site adapts that design. If it's a hotel with 4 floors, they change a little bit different. If it's got central air, we change it. But the bottom line is we've got to do something very, very quick. Most of the governors are saying that their peak is somewhere around the middle of April. So this is not take all the time in the world to do it. This is what is just barely the most important things we have to do, and to be able to come up with a good enough solution. And I'll leave it there, and we can talk later in more detail.
Like, done. Don't let Donald Trump out there again. Don't let a group of people out there with a ridiculous failed message. Let this guy talk. Let him talk it the way he talked it there. We could practically build the hospital room, hotel room that he's talking about from this 3-minute speech. We know about the nurses' stations. We know it's wireless. We know they have negative air pressure. We know they're concerned about the air in the room, the interconnectedness, whether or not they have central air and heating, which would probably be a negative in this case, connecting the rooms together. This is a guy with a plan. Like, this is a guy who's going to go in there and roll out, like the way he talked to Cuomo. Cuomo said, "What can I do?" He said, "I want 1 building today. I want 3 tomorrow." So this is a reasonable goal. Cuomo goes to his people. They go through their best candidates. They give him the best one. Tomorrow they give him the next best 3. Like, this is a plan. Like, so if they went on TV with this guy and none of that other stuff and all the clown show, sorry, it's clown's an offensive word to the president, but none of the jokes, none of the, like, let's have a magical mystical cure, like it's a heaven sent miracle from God and so on and so forth. Like, you get this guy and he just hammers it. He just woof. So, yeah, I thought that was a great, really solid speech. I agree with Balaji. It was the best I've heard. So powerful. Somebody's going to do something. So at least we're going to have mobile hospitals. Of course, obviously it could have been done in January. It could have been done in February. Like the guy's saying, we have till April now at the peak that the governors think they're going to be peaked. It's March 23rd. So April is less than 1 or 2 weeks away. Middle of April, too. So we have 2 to 4 weeks to have these kind of hospital facilities ready. So that's why I said that we needed the Army, that we needed the organization, that we needed the plan, the thing he held in his hand, the specifications, the people who make the specifications. Like, that's what we needed. I don't know where they've been. We pay them the whole time. Just like when we're attacked by airplanes, suddenly we don't have any airplanes. Big surprise to me. Or buildings fall down, you know. But maybe your Doug Stanhope is the best. Maybe your God takes Tuesdays off. But the price of Bitcoin is continuing to rise on the news of the Federal Reserve's infinite money and the $300 billion asset buyback program, likely, and people in the stock market starting to risk off looking for a new investment, getting into Bitcoin. They're happy now because they're about up 10%, 9.8%, with a last of $6,403. So we are up. So, and fortunately, Forbes has now published, here's how to predict the major moves in the price of Bitcoin. And,
is that your magic 8 ball?
That's what I was thinking. They must have read my mind, and they must have known that we have right here for you the magic 8 ball. So now it only does time. It only answers yes or no questions. And it only does kind of time periods. But will the price of Bitcoin be higher next week? Here we go. Will the price of Bitcoin be higher next week? Don't count on it. So there you go. The ball is a bearish ball. Bearish ball.
In the chat, Tom's been thinking about doing a World Crypto Net Magic 8 ball. Would you purchase one? Because I certainly would. I think that it looks epic.
Yeah, we'll see. We have to source them from China and stuff. There's a lot of stuff we have to do. So yeah, but you can just predict the market moves. It's just that easy. Forbes knows how to do it. Decrypt says Bitcoin stays strong as coronavirus fears crash global markets. And meanwhile, BTC bulls go wild as Fed Reserve announces QE infinity. So that's what the big joke we were playing earlier today about the infinite money from the QE. So pretty fun stuff. Yesterday I showed this graphic, but I'm going to show it again just to talk about that there is an option in how you respond to this thing, that we can see differences in how different governments respond to it. And that's why we have a strong federal government, so that you don't get discriminated against, say, if you live in Tennessee versus Kentucky. As we show in this example, you're actually much better off living in Kentucky because of the government. And it shouldn't be that way. There should be a federal response that should make at least an equal response for these things, or that Kentucky could be slightly ahead and Tennessee could be, still acceptable. But here we can see right here on March 6th, Kentucky declares a state of emergency. The Kentucky governor strongly encourages social distancing, March 7th. Meanwhile, in Tennessee, the governor states no need for schools or workplaces to close. Kentucky's already closing buildings, have their pharmacies. Kentucky's closing schools up here at March 11th. Meanwhile, Tennessee finally declares a state of emergency 11 days later than Kentucky. So if your governor is 11 days late in declaring a state of emergency, look at the cases. Look at the amount of infection. The yellow numbers are Tennessee, right? The blue numbers are Kentucky. So Tennessee, 39, 73, 98, 154, 228.
But curveball. I've also seen some news that says that that population density does have a lot to do with it, or at least it's seeming.
There's a lot of other factors, but it seems very clear if people stay at home, that they won't get it. Like the people in Kentucky, there could be 1 billion more people, and they're staying at home earlier, so I think they have a less chance of getting it. If we go back over here, like the cases go up about at the same rate, except that Kentucky's already closed things, especially right here. We have Kentucky here on March 16th closes in-person dining for bars and restaurants. They're also waiving the period for unemployment. All in-person instruction ceases. So they cut off everything right here on the 16th, and they don't see the growth. So if you cut off everything, you don't see the growth. And also without a national standard, without someone to look to and say, hey, is this okay? Is this the right thing to do? We have all these varying state standards, which gives you an unequal chance of living. If you're in a good state, like the National Basketball Association or Nevada or California or Illinois, or in this example, Kentucky, you get to live. If you're in a bad state with a bad government like Florida or Tennessee, and your governor's not taking it seriously, you get to die. That's why we have a national federal government above that, so that there's a more equal standard, less of an unequal standard. So, but we have a lot of news to cover today. We didn't cover it the other day, so let's just scroll back through it and get going. As I predicted on my show, so sorry, people, I'm not a big fan of the president. I try to hold back my political beliefs and be fair and so on and so forth here. But during the show, I called him a clown, and I said that he would use religious language while praising a false cure during his next press conference, as he did during his previous press conference, that he wouldn't stop, that he wouldn't improve, that he wouldn't, see the change and say, hey, this is a serious time. I shouldn't be putting in these random cures. And that the reason he would do it is because psychologically he just has to. Psychologically, he wants to be the one to bring the good news to you. And even if he doesn't have good news, he'll make up good news. So they got mad at that. And I'm not sure why, because a few hours later, Trump said that it would be a gift from heaven if the vaccine worked. Now, this is the malaria vaccine. Malaria is not the same thing as coronavirus, as the doctor behind him had to step up and point out. You can't just use a random cure from another disease and cure the disease that you want, even if you want to. So that was a real low point. A reporter also asked him, when did you know? And he responded, the Chinese government should have told us sooner, which is not an answer. And is really bad because we're going to need the Chinese, not just for normal trade, but if their factories reopen and ours aren't open, we're going to need them to send us masks and ventilators and other things that we can't make, as well as food and just everything. I mean, we're interconnected in this world, so it's a really bad time to be doing things like calling it the Chinese flu or whatever. This is a very negative thing. Then a few minutes later, he said, a ventilator is a machine, a very complex machine, We had hundreds of thousands of them. Who knew we'd need so many? And just the next second, Pence was like, he steps in, he's like, a ventilator is actually not that complicated. We can make them. Like, this is the same, 20-minute press conference. As you said in the question, when did you learn about the virus epidemic? I wish they could have told us earlier. We didn't know until it started coming out earlier. China was very secretive. If we had a 2 to 3 months time difference, it would have been great. And this is when they were spraying their buildings and had a massive quarantine. Like, there was no secret. Like, we all knew how bad it was because of what they were doing. You didn't have to have insider information. Like, yes, maybe they lied to you, but you didn't have to believe them. So, and then they had another great one where another question from OAN, and I watched it live, and she just asked a bizarre question, and she was just like loving the president. It was very strange. Had a very Soviet Russia feeling. They're like, oh, Mr. Stalin, do you love the party? And he's like, I love the party with all of my heart. Thank you for such a fine question. You are beautiful. And it was very strange, like in the middle of this serious, and this is one of the more serious press conferences. This isn't like the president's gone golfing for the weekend, like ask him how in Florida was, So it was not great. Let's see, let's keep going. China's transparency. He responded to the coronavirus early, he said. He said that he's not invoked the Defense Production Act because he wants companies to make a profit off of medical supplies and equipment. And that's why we have the Defense Production Act, so that during wartime, the president and the national government can direct production. They can stop companies from price gouging, and they can say, for the good of the country, you're going to use your facilities to make masks. For the good of the country, you're going to make hand sanitizer. And no, you're not going to be making a ridiculous profit off it. This is for the good of the country, right? That's the point of the act. If he doesn't implement the act, it doesn't happen. As David Corn says, the Trump administration was warned that a potential pandemic was possible. It did nothing to prepare. He blamed administrations of the past, but he's been president for 3 years. As I said, he did use religious language. It would be a gift from heaven if it worked. Meanwhile, we have a solution to the pandemic. According to Anthony, we should have an underground fight club. Upload the videos to Twitter. If it goes to decision, then we'll vote for the winner. I'm between 140 and 147 pounds. I'll fight anybody up to 160 as long as there's no weight cutting and all ya motherfuckers don't got diseases or skill. So there you go. Fight Club might do it. Trump says, when you hear the number of tests we're providing are now, it's incredible. And I've heard a lot of governors say the same thing. As usual, he's combining hyperbole and vagueness. Got a call. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, mate. It's Norm Ski. I'm Dan's best mate calling from Korea.
Hey, how's it going? Dan's best mate from
Hi,
Korea.
Norm. Hi, Norm.
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
It's the only time you could reach Dan was during the show.
Yeah. How did you know?
All right. Well, ask Dan a question, or let us know what it's like over there for you and the virus and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the craziest thing you've seen in South Korea so far, or what do you think they've done well versus not done well?
I got chucked out of the store for not having a mask on because I forgot it in the car the other day.
Gotta have a mask, but that's totally opposite of here. As our friend Mustafa said, nobody's even wearing them all over the country.
Yeah, that's the mental thing, mate. If you look at any picture of the countries that have sort of got the virus under control, look at any photo, everyone is wearing a mask.
Are you ill, Thomas? I just saw some.
No, I'm just blowing my nose, but yeah, man.
Do you see there was a news reporter the other day who was like, she coughed and then she was like, I'm not ill. It's just a dry throat. It's a dry throat.
No.
So what?
They keep telling people to stop wearing. They keep telling people that masks don't work as well.
What, over in South Korea?
Well, no, in the U.S.
No,
on TV and stuff.
In the U.S. and in the UK.
I think it's because
it's really weird to be here.
I think it's because they don't have any masks here, and they just don't want people to panic because they don't have a mask. But I've seen a study where it was like it's not 100%, but it reduces the amount of microbes in your mouth. So it reduces the amount of you getting sick from anything, not just COVID or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty common sense to know that if you put something over your mouth, then less stuff is going to project out of your mouth in a forwards direction, isn't it?
I thought that was pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, but
if you did have masks, then people would probably be able to go out in public. The reason people can't go out in public is because you don't have any masks.
That's right. And now we aren't getting any production out of our workers, and we're shutting down entire regions when we could be shutting down more tightly controlled areas, trying to continue production and so on and so forth. But yeah, we're just going to let. I mean,
it's regrettable, but they're doing what needs to be done. You know.
Oh, I agree. I agree with the closures and stuff. I just don't think they're doing it in a smart way. And then without testing here, we're not going to get it under control till we get the testing. Were you tested for it in South Korea? How's it going there?
No, but there's like you can go for a drive-through testing. You can get home testing now. They've got 10-minute home testing kits you can do, which they'll come up positive if you've got the virus and you've had it for like over 5 days.
When you say home testing, is that like via a home visit, or like they send you a package or something?
Yeah, they'll send. I think you can get them to send you a little thing. Yeah, or you can go online and look it up, mate.
Yeah, we have nothing like that here. I know the guy that called in the other day didn't know where to go, didn't know who to call, and I think he had to go to the normal emergency, risking the possibility of infecting everyone there.
They're testing all of the right people though, and they've got all of that tracking stuff as well. And they've been doing it since day one. People have been wearing masks since day one. The right people have been tested since day one, and the right procedures have been there since day one. And most importantly, all of the frontline medical workers have been protected and had the right personal protection equipment since day one. And that's why you don't see, there's not any reports of any Korean doctors or nurses being like infected with the virus in ICUs, whereas you've already got that in the UK. You've already got doctors and nurses being infected by patients in the UK.
Why do you think the South Korean response was so much better than the United States or the UK?
Well, I can three reasons off the top of my head. Number one, after the MERS outbreak, which happened in Asia, they put new legislation in where if something like this happened again, they are able to basically use people's credit card data, cell phone data, and surveillance and surveil people to track where they'd been and who they'd had contact with, and then track the people who they'd had contact with. So that's one thing. They've got the systems in place to be able to track people.
Yeah, we definitely don't have that
Big
here.
Brother, isn't it? That?
I don't think we'd like it here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Giant Brother.
Then it's illegal to use it It's illegal to use it in anything but that situation. They're not just like tracking people.
Well, that's
and
what
were the other two reasons then? Sorry. What are the other two things that stick out?
Number two is they had recently, in the last couple of years, already come up with a virus strategy or an outbreak strategy. So they've already got all of the equipment and all of the stuff in place ready to like handle something like this. I mean, it was a close call because it broke out in one city in Daegu because of a religious cult. And a lot of these big outbreaks a lot of the big outbreaks that have been happening around the world have been happening because of large religious gatherings.
What were they required to do? They didn't have to do something.
Interesting segue
didn't have to
here.
cough in. Oh,
sorry.
What did they have to do?
Go ahead.
The religious cult. There was something they had to do, wasn't it? Like they had to share a bowl or something stupid.
Mate, you don't like. Honestly, they had a place in. They've got a place. They got places all over the world. They've got locations, churches all over the world. They had one in Wuhan. They were there in November. Then one of the main women from the church, she flies back to Korea. They're trying to give her. They're trying to get her to go for testing. She won't go. They ask her like twice. She still won't go. She's got the virus. And then what does she do? She goes to 4 different massive gatherings at churches on the same day spreading the virus around.
Savage. I wonder if there's some sort of like legal responsibility, like that they're going to start.
Oh yeah, that's
bringing next time.
There's a massive investigation into it, mate. Honestly, and it's not just in Korea. There are other countries in the world that are investigating this cult.
That's amazing. It was a cult meeting that helped spread it. I know we've been talking here a lot on Twitter. Jimmy Song, a big Bitcoin programming guy, he came out on Twitter and he said this: as a Christian, I'm disappointed at how nearly every church in the U.S. has closed and gone online due to orders from government authorities. Why are there no challenges based on the freedom of religion and the freedom of assembly? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's ridiculous because like the other biggest outbreaks in Korea, there've been like 3 or 4 of them. They all happen in churches. And you might have, I mean, I'm watching news about the world, but I live in Korea. Last week, we got a surge in cases. I don't know whether you saw this. It's insane. There's this church, right, up in Seoul, and they read on Facebook or something that salt water helps kill the virus.
That was it.
Yeah. Salt water solution, right? And they're like squaring it into people's mouths, and they didn't like disinfect it or anything, and they ended up infecting the whole congregation. So the government is like, look, if you do this and it results in anything happening again, we're going to fine you like serious money.
That's insane.
Someone got fined $31,000 in Taiwan today for going out like when they should have been in quarantine. $31,000.
Wow, that's crazy. But what can you do? You got to keep people home. You got to like maintain this quarantine. So
it's a fine balance, isn't it? It's like
I'm a university professor, so I'm teaching. I teach in a classroom. You know, I like lecture in lecture hall with a lectern, but I've had to like take my stuff online. But I've been talking to the students. I've got them in like online chat rooms for each class and stuff. But they're all really positive, man. They're like, yeah, we stay home and we wear masks and we go out and we're still meeting people, but we use hand sanitizer and it's okay. And you know, I'm like, I'm proud of you guys. I'm proud of this country because this is the number one example in the world for how to handle this situation, this country.
It really is. They have numbers that we can trust, unlike China. And not only did they flatten the curve, but they smashed the curve, which wasn't even thought possible. And we're not even talking about that in the U.S. We don't have any testing. We don't have any controls. Yeah. It's just a free-for-all.
Their policy from the beginning has been complete transparency as well. And that's the other thing. They've been completely transparent with people. So every day, all day, the government is talking to people on TV. It's not just like a press briefing once a day. They're talking to people all day long on TV. They're giving the most up-to-date information. There's tracking that tracks people that have got the virus and where they've been. There's government notifications sent out by text message to every single person's phone, letting them know where the closest person is to them who's got the coronavirus and in their neighborhoods. It's all total information and transparency.
That's amazing. Yep. An example we could all follow. If we were the kind of people who followed examples.
You said before, Chris, to me that
I'm not going to take. Go on, Dan. Go on.
I was going to say that you said that in South Korea, like one thing you've noticed compared to the UK is that there's a lot less kind of rebellion against the government. You know, in the UK, it's kind of people just, you know, with punks and stuff. It's kind of cool to be rebellious.
Yes, yes and no, Dan. Yes and no, because there's literally up to 1 million people every weekend and have been for years protested in Seoul against the government all the fucking time, mate. Oh, there's people protesting all the time because they don't like the lefties, mate. They don't like the left-wing government. But you look at what's going on with the coronavirus, mate. It's kind of this situation where everyone's turned into socialism, right? And the left wing sort of thing. Oh, look, this works in this situation.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of communist and sort of socialism, sort of, you know, bouncing back, isn't it? Like people saying, "Oh, this wouldn't have happened if you know the government had full totalitarian control of everything."
it's not a political movement though. It's a response to like a needs. It's a needs case situation. A response to it, isn't it? So I don't think it's politicians want to make it political. They're trying to do it in America. They're trying to do it in England. But people like Trump, he's just like not going to buy into that, man. He's just doing the best he can with the people he's got, trying to keep everyone on the same page, keep positive. He's good, mate. Love him. Love you, mate.
Yeah.
you got to watch that Tiger thing, man. It's insane, dude. It's insane.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll check it out tonight. It sounds good.
I'll get off the phone, man. I love you, bro. Big up.
Take care. Thanks for joining us.
See you later.
Thanks so much for the call.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
Give us a call anytime. All right, let's see. So I'll send the link to Kyle. There we go. So in case Kyle's around, we'll get Kyle. But otherwise, if you'd like to call us, you could call us now at 1-518-600-1949 or on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. What do you guys think about Jimmy's protestation here? I know Jimmy. I don't want to say anything critical, and certainly I don't want to talk about another person's religion, but I agree with the caller. I think it's a bad idea to have a large gathering at the time of this virus. Nothing to say about the church. Hopefully they wouldn't do what he said and mix a bunch of salt water together and infect everyone, or that they could refrain from touching the holy water and infecting everyone and so on and so forth. I would advise against these things. And I would advise with the church following the standards to stay home. It seems like they're protecting their people and that's their number one priority, really. If you look at the Italian priests, there was it seems a long time ago, it's probably a week now, but there were 6 coffins, 6 priests had all passed on the same day, and they were all out with their parishioners, helping them, helping the sick, helping the old, doing what they're supposed to be doing, not singing in a big room or whatever you're going to do at church. I really think that this would be the time for acts, to make masks, to sew masks, to deliver food, to check on the elderly, to get more gloves. I think that the actions would be the thing. It's not the worship. I don't think, there's a huge debate, and there's always been a big debate in religion about faith versus good works. And I'm always on the good works side of that. I suppose Jimmy's arguing here some kind of attendance-based religion, that if you don't attend church every Sunday consecutively, God would get upset with you. Some kind of God as attendance master.
Have you signed the register?
Yeah, if you miss a week because you're out of town, or if you miss a week or two because of a deadly virus that would kill your whole community, I think he'd be understanding, or he or she would be understanding. It seems very reasonable to me. So I'm not sure where he went, but obviously he got a lot of response here. If your goal is just to get a lot of response and to have a lot of controversy around you, he's a very controversial figure now with 133 retweets, 1,100 likes. This fits in, like they were saying in the chat, with the libertarian kind of ideals that these controls are too much. Because why? Because of the severity of the virus. How do you know the severity of the virus in the middle of the virus? Well, you don't know. And so now we're on to a debate of virus severity, and that you might be a virus severity denier, something like that.
Whilst we're on the subject, I'd like to thank the Lord for giving us coronavirus, and also all the other lovely diseases and viruses that are plaguing the planet right now.
Well, it reminds me of one of my favorite movies to watch over and over again, and now the minute that I think about it, I think, well, I should just start that film because it's so good. It's called The Invention of Lying with Ricky Gervais. Yeah. And it's so good. There's to spoil it just a little bit, it's a world where they don't have lying. They just don't have it. And sadly, I don't want to get you upset, but in the Ricky Gervais script, they also don't have religion. They don't have lying. So Ricky gets up there and kind of invents religion for them. And he's explaining them the God idea. And they're like, does God does all the good things in the world? He's like, yes, he does those. But what about the bad things? And Ricky's like, yes, he does those too. So the person in the crowd's like, you mean God got me fired? God got me this new job? And they're like, yeah, God got you the new job. You're like, but God gave my grandmother cancer. You're like, yeah, God did that too. And they had to puzzle with the duality of having the God. And I'm reading a Philip K. Dick book right now, so it's very religious. And he's puzzling with this duality as well. He's like, how can the form destroyer, their version of the devil or Lucifer or whatever you want to go with, how can the form destroyer be part of the 3-in-1 God? How can he be part of the good God? How can he be part of the other? And they're having to judge with this. So I think it's an interesting subject. It's worth talking about. But yeah, I think you should stay home. I think you should. I mean, and it's I don't know. I just this is another. And a friend of mine sent me a big long post, a big Twitter post that I read, and I read it because my friends send me things, I read them. I'm fair, but I didn't agree with the post much. A lot of the post was like, quarantine is hard. Quarantine is not perfect. Like, a lot of people have to go home, and maybe they live in a small apartment, or they don't have a laptop, or they don't have internet, or their significant other is a bad person and they're in a physical unsafe situation, or they're alone and they're bored and they're in solitary confinement and they're going crazy. So yeah, quarantine's not perfect. Like, it wasn't perfect when the Germans were bombing England and they had to shelter underground in the underground subway stations. That was not perfect either. I think you just sat next to someone on cement. Like, there wasn't cushioned seats, and there wasn't an entertainment room for the children. And, we kind of, not me, but, the British, they had to hide underground at that time. That was the only option. And, I'm a libertarian. I'm staying up there. I don't care if the Germans bomb the building. Like, that wasn't really an option. Like, yes, the military would cordon you underground so you didn't get killed by the bombers, right? I mean, they're taking away my freedom to be killed by a bomber. I'm upset. Like, I imagine the British would let you go sit up there if you want to get bombed. I mean, and they leveled whole buildings, which is the same way that this disease takes care of business. It levels whole city. Like, the entire city gets sick. So yes, I agree that quarantine's not the perfect situation, but the quote that I would give them, and no one likes to hear my military quotes, but a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. We need to do something now. This is a ragtag operation. I wish, like the caller was saying, in South Korea, they had previous outbreaks, they had previous crises, so they were ready or more ready for this, so on and so forth. But you want to watch Italian mayors now?
Yeah. So as a little segue about being quarantined, some great tweet earlier about Italian mayors getting very angry at the people not staying in. So
well, this swings a little bit both ways. I mean, some people are going to be like, look at these authoritarians pounding on their gavels and so forth. But I see this more as like, look at these human beings trying to protect other human beings. They joined a group called the government where they take an oath that says they should protect other human beings, especially those in their area, and they told them, they're like, okay, my best way to protect you is for you to stay home. And this the one with the dog where they're mad about dog walking too?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a good one. Okay. So we're going to play this. And again, we're going to lose our YouTube rights. So if anyone wanted to super chat us like $5-10 or donate some Bitcoin or something, that'd be cool. Cause I like doing these videos. I think it's much more informative with audio and video. It brings in experts and other opinions and stuff. But YouTube doesn't. YouTube thinks that this is not fair use and that this is not news and that we're just stealing someone else's audio. So they're going to take our dollar per video. So it'd be better if we could get, $5 from you guys or $10 or something. But again, it's not about the money. It's about having a conversation. And this is a nice time. I like interactive television myself. I'm not, just watching the thing. So here we go. Let's keep going. I'm getting news that some would like to have graduation parties. We will send over the police with flamethrowers. I'm going to catch you tomorrow. Not in a year. Tomorrow. I'm the mayor. You won't stroll in my town. I can't formally ban you from leaving your house. Nice. I will ban you from stepping on Proven soil. If not for whom, I'm going to address you all. Where the fuck are you going? You and your dogs. You must have an inflamed prostate. You can't play ping pong. Go home. Play some video games. I'm the mayor of this city. I will make you follow this decree. Scusa, I don't want your excuses. You must go home. You all have to stay at home. How can I spell it out? You can't stay in the streets. You can't stay in the streets. You have to go home. At home.
He's not happy.
Yeah. At a club. We need their girlfriends with a club. Getting in a mobile hairdresser. What the fuck is that for? Who the fuck is supposed to even see you? Oh, I like. There's a little bit more. He says the casket will be closed. He says the casket will be closed. He says, so don't go to the mobile hairdresser. Like, it's like a mobile death lab. I mean, like, get in a box that someone else is in and breathe with somebody. So yeah, a lot of people I think are sharing this because they think the Italian mayors are overreacting, or they see this as an example of growing socialism and communism and so forth. But no, I see this as human beings trying to save other human beings the best way that they know how. So, but yeah, shout out to those Italian mayors having a tough time out there. Let's see what else is going on. Oh, they still got that money printer going. Somebody left this thing on. Damn it. Just, no, stop. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. One more thing. Let's see.
Cash in the financial system, and there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. We will do.
What is that?
An infinite amount of cash.
Cash at the Federal Reserve. We will do whatever we need to do to make sure that there's enough cash in the banking system.
It's an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve, so you don't have to worry. Let's see. I think we just looked at the U.S. Yeah, it was 40,000 deaths. It's doubling, or 40,000 cases.
So two interesting, if they're real. I always got to caveat stuff because there's so much crap news out there that's wrong, and I always end up apologizing. But no, so I was watching a cool documentary last night. In fact, it can't be wrong because it was Leonard Nimoy who was narrating it, so it must not be wrong. In
must
theory.
Be true.
It must
Spock.
be. It must be logical. And so two things. This was on the bubonic plague, and first of all, something that was quite interesting. So the Black Death that was around bubonic plague. Black Death was around the time flagellation, self-flagellation was invented because of the Black Death, because they were trying to pay penance, apparently, to pay penance, and they didn't want to get wiped out by the loving God who gave them Black Death, or was going to give them. So they decided to slash themselves just to save themselves. Obviously, I'm not sure of the logic by that. But the other interesting thing is that the term quarantine came from actually Venice. So, and that's because the ships coming into Venice, they realized were bringing disease. So they invented 40 giorno, which was a quarantine for 40 days. So that people went out, they were kept under quarantine and pretty much doing what they are now, except they didn't have the internet or the World CryptoNet show to watch. Thomas Hunt show on World CryptoNet to like and share. So there's your two facts.
Nice, very good. Getting reports my audio is quiet again. I don't know what's going on, but try to fix that. Let's see what else we've got in the stories today. We watched the General. That was really good. We figured out we should have an underground fight club. That'd be sweet. Like I said, a ventilator is a really complicated machine. Seconds later. Manufacturers tell us that ventilators are not very complicated. So this is not helpful. Like, this is like having a child at your press conference who just says random shit. So not helpful, not useful. Here he is saying that it would be a gift from heaven.
Questions about the use of this malaria drug. Have those questions now been resolved?
Well, I don't know that resolved. I can say that it's going to be distributed. I know New York is getting, I think, 10,000 units, and numerous other people. It's really, it could be the malaria drug plus the Z-Pack. But, and we're going to find out. We're going to find out. I feel, as the expression goes, what do we have to lose? Because, I feel very good about it. Tony would feel, like he'd like samples done in a certain way, and I understand that too. Many doctors agree with that. We don't have much time. We have a lot of very sick people right now in hospitals all over the place. And speaking with the governor.
So even before he says the religious language, he says that it doesn't need to be tested. He says, yes, Tony wants to test it, and he wants to test it in a very specific way and all these things. And I don't want to. I just want to rush it out. I don't care if it works or not. Like, the efficacy is not important. I just want to tell you that I have a cure. I'm here today telling you that I have a cure. Does it work? No. Has it been tested? No. Will it make you worse? Will it make you sicker? No. Okay, let's just keep going here a little bit more.
New York, Cuomo. I said, how's it look? He's got a lot of sick people. So we're going to be delivering a lot of samples to New York and other places, and we're going to find out very shortly whether or not it's going to work. I feel very confident. I mean, I've seen things that surprise me, frankly. There are, as Tony said, there are other things we're looking at, too. Vaccine, of course, is incredible, but this is more immediate. Right now, this, to me, would be the greatest thing that could happen. This would be a gift from heaven. This would be a gift from God if it works. So we're going to pray to God that it does work. It'll be a fantastic thing.
Okay, so there it is at the end. As I predicted, he would both say there's a cure, use religious language. I didn't go so far that he'd say invoking God and invoking prayer, but also he's destroyed the possibility for us to test this drug. As Kramer was saying this morning on CNBC, he said, now there's no way to test this drug. You can't do a double-blind test. I get the placebo. I get the one that doesn't work. As Kramer himself said, I want the one that the president has a good feeling about. That's the one that I want. So now we have a drug that doesn't work, might make you worse, which is pretty much unconnected. It's like saying that spaghetti cures this. Did you eat spaghetti last night? You're cured. Oh, we're fine. I wish I'd known this.
That'd be great because I love spaghetti.
You can cure a lot of diseases with spaghetti. Like, maybe the doctor standing behind me doesn't believe that. He'd prefer that we tested the spaghetti. He'd prefer that we made sure the spaghetti worked beforehand. But I'm shipping the spaghetti out to the hospitals. We're going to test it in the field, and it's going to work great. This is super spaghetti. I'm going to pray to God that this spaghetti is so good. So I don't know. It was not a great moment. It was not a great thing.
There have been some positive, tests, reports of tests on, like, what's it called, Quasanona Ding Dong, or I can't remember the name of it in this now. And
there's been a lot of reports of these kind of things, as there are during all these crises. That's a great way to get a headline. Blankety blank cures coronavirus. Blankety blank plus
no, it's
blank
not about cure,
plus
it's
blank.
about remedy.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, you want to make
hasn't cured.
You want to make people feel better. Like, why aren't they using it in Italy if it's cured it? Like, we have thousands of people.
It's not about cure. I'm saying that I think the test showed that
it's about making. All right, it doesn't matter what it actually is. It's a panacea. A panacea makes you feel good, and a panacea drives click rates, right? So if I have a bunch of articles about clopidogrel or whatever it is, any of these things, and I say that it cures it, it's great for ratings, right? And that's what he's doing in his press conference, where he's supposed to be giving official information. Did you see the general? Was there anything where the general came out and you're like, I'm uncertain about what he said? Like, everything he came out was with certainty. He's like, we're going to set up, field hospitals. We're going to put them in hotels. We're going to have a process. We're going to talk to the state. I mean, he was pointing out this guy. I just pray there's a cure. I pray. I mean, we're not going to test it. Like, the scientists, but he says specifically that the scientists behind him would prefer to test it. I mean, it's just like, it's nonsense. I'm sorry. Like, I wish it wasn't. Like, I wish he'd let the serious people help. He always said in the campaign that he would hire the best people and that he would listen to the best people and he'd let the best people talk. There it is right here. Tower's comment in the chat says, I heard on Democracy Now! That 2 people overdosed from that drug. So there it is. That's why you don't have these, bizarre cures. Like,
but then there's people floating around that injecting 20,000 milligrams of vitamin C is going to kill.
Of course there is. I mean, we're in a crisis, man.
I think the problem is with anything medical science is something that there is probably the most amount of snake oil in the world. From homeopaths to other alternative medicines that are outside of the paid medical scope, because they're not proven as effective. So it's an awful time for people, an awful time that people will try and cash in on selling you Kangen water or selling you, vitamin C or Holland and Barrett. Well, I don't want to pick them in specifically, but there's all sorts that I've seen that of people have said, "Oh, take this vitamin." Now, if they have got evidence, I'm not trying to stick up for Trump,
and it's even worse.
That,
I mean, it's fine for those people to do that on their YouTube channels or in their community or at one of those speeches at the state fair where they're like, "I've got an amazing thing that's going to cure you all. This is the pills you need to take. These are amazing pills. It's going to cure you every day." No, that's fine and all. It's not fine, but I mean, it's scammy and snake oily and slimy and all of those things in those situations. But when you're the president and you go up there with a bunch of doctors and you speak and you say, this thing will cure it. The doctor says, maybe we should test it first, but I feel good about it. So no, I'm not
just
seeing this.
To also clarify, so azithromycin and quazinona ding dong, whatever it is, are both already used and tested by the FDA, but for use for different things. So the idea that it's not tested is it does seem to be a bit of kind of anti-orange man, just going to fight everything that comes out, because there is evidence.
Well, no, I mean, we should test our medicine still, right? I mean, it's still pretty open and shut. Like, you test the medicine.
It is tested. No, but
it's tested. It cures malaria. Yeah, it's a malaria medicine. It's like, I mean, aspirin gives you less headaches. Like, we're not just going to prescribe aspirin for this and pray that it might work. But that's what he said. That's what he said on TV.
But he's basing it on other stuff that I've read from.
He just wants to make people feel good, Dan. He just wants to make people feel good. He wants to give him a car.
I think you just don't like. I think you just.
No, it's not about that. No, we can look at the general. You can look at the right way to do this. What's the right way to do this? The general. Like, look at this guy. He even impressed Balaji, and Balaji hates everything and everybody. Like,
CU-like facility. So there's really 4 different phases. The state has to nominate the facilities in a priority.
There's 4 different phases. The state has to nominate the facilities, or.
In things that surprise me, frankly, I'm
a doctor now.
As Tony said, there are other things we're looking at too.
There are other
vaccine,
things.
Of course, is
magical cure-all.
Incredible, but this is more immediate. Right now, this to me
they've been
would
looking
be
into a vaccine since it started.
No, but a vaccine takes a year and a half because of testing. It's not like
sure. But
you're not understanding the difference between actually delivering on things like logic and military, the way that guy's going to build that hospital in the real world, versus this guy's nonsense. Like, this is just nonsense. Like, I don't know if you guys aren't getting it. This speaks to the religious people that there will be a cure, and this says, like, it doesn't even matter that I should wear a mask or stay home because it's been cured. Like, this is dangerous. Like, as Guy said, democracy now, 2 people already sick from overdosing on this drug. So that's 2 sick people. No, he's not keeping the people informed.
Of their own accord,
he's not keeping people informed when he's talking about a magical cure. Like, there's no magical cure. So let's just put it down. Let's say if there's a cure in a week, it was right of him to say this. If there's a cure in 2 weeks, it's right of him to say this. If the cure takes a year, like I'm saying, what he said today gave you false hope.
I think there's a difference between
there's a difference
in terms of, there's a difference between a cure and vaccination and also other treatments that help reduce the effects of, which would still be better, still have a very positive effect because you're reducing the number of people that would get pneumonia to the extent they have to be
in the current crisis. Talking to medical experts, they seem very clearly that we should be wearing gloves, wearing masks, and staying home. So if I say to you that there's a cure, how much does that mean that you're going to listen to me when I say wear gloves, wear masks, stay home? In South Korea, did they get everyone to stay home by saying they're a cure?
There's a cure, though.
Oh, come on, Dan. Don't, you're parsing your semantics here. So do we have to, start looking up words? Because I'll do it. We'll look up words, and you'll be horrified. He says, no, believe me, the general doesn't say anything like this.
It's going to work.
It's going to work. I feel very confident. It's going to work. I feel very confident. It works. It works. It works. It works. It works. It works.
A lot of samples,
and it works, Maybe we should test it.
delivering a lot of samples to New York and other.
It works. He has a cure that works. It's false information. He's lying to you. He's lying to you because he wants to make you feel better. It's a nice reason to lie to people. I'm not saying that he's not a nice person. I'm just saying that his style of promising false cures is not helpful right now. Let's go to the article that the doctor wrote. I mean, the doctor just wrote an article where he said, I can't jump up there and push him out of the way. That's what the doctor's having to say, the doctor who's face palming in the back. He says, I can't just jump up there and push him out of the way. Direct quote from the doctor's article. I can't just jump up there and push him out of the way when he says false information during a national press conference that's supposed to be delivering useful information. The difference is when the general spoke, he delivered useful information. He didn't speculate. There's nothing in this that is speculatory. What we need to know right now is wear gloves, wear a mask, stay home. We're working on it. Like some information about the stimulus would be great. That's certainly speculation about the stimulus, but we don't need an untrained, non-medical, non-scientific president up there saying that he has any kind of potential cure. Anytime you do that, you decrease the severity of the disease, you decrease the number of people staying home, wearing gloves, wearing masks, and you increase this guy's job. This guy needs more beds in his hospital because that other guy is talking nonsense. So what do? In a situation like this, you get that guy to stop. It doesn't matter that he's the boss of the thing. You have to go to him nicely and say, hey, boss, you're a cool guy. But when you go out there, you feel that you want to make people feel better. And this is a nice instinct. This is maybe one of your nicest instincts. And when you want to make people feel better, you end up spouting a bunch of nonsense about a malaria cure, right? And you start saying that we're shipping the malaria cure to hospitals, which makes people think that it's not just a malaria cure. You're providing them with false hope. It's not helpful. Like, it's not true, the things he's saying. It's a malaria cure. Like, if you want to talk about the truth, you want to talk about medicine, you want to get out the scientific charts, what they're really talking about is a cocktail of cures, which they've been talking about for months. Before this was a problem, I read an article that said Thailand was experimenting with a cocktail of cures that included the HIV drug, and they were shipping it out to their hospitals. And this was before Trump even gotten involved in this, before we even did anything in America setting up, these hospitals and things. So no, we don't need false hope. Like, we don't need false cures. We need the facts. And it's something he just can't do. I mean, you guys can go back, watch his speeches. You can read, I have it right here. If you're interested, there's 30 years of Doonesbury comics telling you about this guy, who he is, the kind of person he is. You can go read 30 years of Doonesbury, 30 years, man. There's cases and cases and cases. He likes to talk a good story. He wants to make you feel good. Okay? It's not going. Let's keep going. Here's Stephen King. Trump shut down the CDC. Make sure your Trump friends understand how badly he bungled the response. Right now, he's in political heaven on TV all the time, which he likes. He's got the border shut down, which he loves, but he's the same fuck up he always was. So, Stephen King. And he did fire the CDC. I mean, we'll get to the article. I can pull it up now if you want. But he fired the CDC person whose job it was to monitor China. Fired, not replaced, not refilled, position gone. And he fired the pandemic response team. During the time, this was to save money for budget cutting, but it left us unprepared. So we have a series of actions that left us unprepared. During the crisis, he's on TV promising false cures, giving people false hope, which is not useful. This is bad. There's no, it just means, it's nice. I mean, as we're saying here, the death rate from the coronavirus seems to be 12%. So 12% virus, and we're just going to pray it away. We're not using the Defense Production Act. We're not building more stuff. Like, as Fauci here, President Trump said that 2 drugs, if taken together, could be game changers. Dr. Fauci cautioned that the effectiveness of this drug combination has not yet been proven.
Yeah, but he's not he's not telling people to go and use it. He's telling people that about the research that shows there has been.
It doesn't matter. This isn't a scientific TV show. It's not like, have you read any cool science articles lately? I read a cool science article that they're delaying the James Webb Space Telescope. Like, that doesn't have anything to do with this. Like, it doesn't. It's like Dr. Fauci's up there with one of the hardest jobs, trying to get people to chill out, trying to get people to stay home, because that is effective. People staying home, not going to bars and restaurants is effective. So, no, I don't think the 12% is a fact, but I think if you average the numbers, it looks to be coming out to about 10% if you just look at the numbers. So, and that's not judging it by age, which makes it harder for people to understand. As I say here, the media must stop live broadcasting Trump's dangerous, destructive coronavirus briefings. They've written a whole column about this in the Washington Post, because it is dangerous when you're out there saying that it's fine. Or maybe you believe like Homer Simpson. Facts are meaningless. You can use facts to prove anything that's even remotely true. Fact schmacks. So, yeah, you want to get really good. They have this animation. Let me see if it's still working. It's not going to work. But they had a great animation somewhere where it just showed the whole country filling with this thing. So open source ventilators. It's working. 7 days open source. Hardware enthusiasts put out an open call for ventilators. After contributions from 300 engineers, medical technicians, and researchers, they have a prototype ready for testing. Why didn't he talk about this? Wouldn't it be more useful to spend his time talking about open source ventilators and how you can make your own masks at home rather than a miracle cure that doesn't have anything to do with anything? This seems more nuts and bolts, more real world, less imagination. So you want to watch how bad this is getting. There's a great thing here at Florida City Council.
He was cool. He lost his shit.
There's always
it's the same kind of thing where she's not doing anything.
In a good
she
way,
doesn't
though.
want to do
I
anything.
think, he's called her out.
All right, we're gonna play this. See how the audience likes this. Again, this is for fair use for news purposes, but YouTube doesn't care. They're taking our
and I call the question.
I'm sorry, that's not how this works. We each have an opportunity to speak 5 minutes.
I thought we did.
Yeah, the question's been
I'm
called.
I'm sorry.
And
that's not how calling the question works. You need a second, and you need to vote on it.
Then I have a second for calling
so
the
are you
question.
telling me that you're going to keep me from talking right now?
You've talked all evening.
Look here. You're calling me disrespectful because I've interrupted people, but this gentleman has turned off people's lights in the middle of a global health pandemic. That's what that gentleman did.
Point of order.
And you think I'm disrespectful for interrupting you?
Point of order.
This gentleman has had the ability to do any number of things. We could have banned large gatherings. We could have closed the beach. We could have put a moratorium on utility shutoffs.
I recessed.
Also not within your power, and the attorney has held that that's true.
I recessed the meeting.
You came up with new rules at the beginning of the meeting, and then you didn't even want to follow the rules that you came up with.
And you took advantage.
This is a banana republic is what you're turning this place into with your so-called leadership.
Does a recess mean that we will be...
Yes.
Camera on that?
I don't care anything about this.
Camera on that?
I don't care anything about this.
Does
We should have been talking about this last week.
Can we...
We cut off people's utilities this week and made them pay what could have been their last check to us to turn their lights on in a global health pandemic. But you don't care about that and you didn't want to meet. But every other year you go around and beg people for their votes.
Hey.
Can we explain
But
the
you care
recess?
more about your relationship with that guy than you care about the relationship with the people who don't go to work in this building.
Order! You were done. You're done. You're done. Disrespect.
It's disrespectful is what you've done to the working people in the city.
I didn't do anything.
You failed to act.
I didn't do anything.
When you're a leader, you failed to act. You said you didn't do anything. You failed to act. When you had an opportunity.
Party for State House.
I don't care anything about that. Do you think anybody cares?
He's gonna win too. He's gonna win for State House. He's running for State House. I like the part where she says she's gonna destroy him. She says she's gonna use all of her powers to destroy him.
Magical powers. Maybe she has some of the shared infinite money power.
And shout out to everybody in the chat, especially Dick Cabeza. If you want, I'll play the Trump video where it shows his speeches during the crisis. You don't want me to do it. You're sitting there in a little fantasy land that Trump didn't, fiddle while Rome burnt. But there's speech after speech, and they've combined it for me in one nice video. So if you want, I'll play that for you, and you can think about how Trump did nothing. And again, the things the Army guy's saying, that could have been done 2 weeks ago. That could have been done a month ago. What you want in a pandemic like this is you want to be sitting on a pile of gloves. You want to be sitting on a pile of gloves and ventilators and have everyone stay home and say, golly gee, we didn't need to do that. We didn't need to do that whole thing. That whole thing was for nothing. Like, golly gee, the virus didn't get us because we had a pile of gloves and we had masks and we had a plan and we were prepared and we cut off things and all these things. No, we didn't do that. We don't have a pile of gloves. We don't have a pile of masks. We're not saying like sunny days, everything went fine. No, we're going to hit this thing. We're going to hit 100,000 cases in 4 to 7 days. And it's going to be because of inaction. South Korea, where you live, is different. You had testing. You had a government. You had gloves and masks and people that worked together to solve this thing. We don't have that. We don't have a national government. We're going to take it on this thing. We're going to be the out of control epidemic pandemic in 3 to 7 days. So just hang on. It's okay. We'll talk about it then. As Jameson Lopp says, spring is here. Don't forget to plant your victory garden. I don't know if he's sarcastic or not, but it's a really good idea to plant a victory garden, growing food at home, being self-sufficient, even anything. Shout out to Dolly Parton. She gave a beautiful little speech about Kenny Rogers. Also, I've been doing a Best of the British Museum series on Twitter because everything at the British Museum is the best. So keeping that up. As Stephen King says, bullshit. Trump has replaced his rallies with press briefings, which are thinly designed re-election events. Like to say, oh, I don't even care about the coronavirus. I hear it on TV. They got a cure. I'm going to all the gatherings I want. Nobody's stopping me. Here's Italy. They're spraying out the streets, so on and so forth. We're also keeping up our sanctions to Iran. As Representative Ilhan Omar says here, a person dies from coronavirus every 10 minutes in Iran. 50 become infected every hour. Keeping in economic sanctions is supervillain level cruelty, which it really is. If you look at our situation with Iran, we should be helping them. We should be helping North Korea. We should be helping all of these people for the same reason. For all of this, we're all interconnected. The butterflies, the air. There's no space between you and me. There's air. Space is full of air. It's full of molecules. We're all connected. People that die in Iran, same as people dying here or in North Korea. It's not acceptable, and they should be canceling the sanctions during right now. It's a crisis. Same way that they should be letting people out of prison, especially nonviolent prison offenders, especially marijuana prison offenders. And in general, most people should be let out of prison. They shouldn't be keeping people in these cement cells with all the connected things, getting them all sick, essentially having them take on the corona sentence as part of their sentence. That's not acceptable. That's not they're put in jail for. The same thing for the immigration camps that we have near the border. They don't even have beds. They have metal blankets. They'll be wiped out if we do this coronavirus thing. So no, we have to start thinking about people. As Bernie Sanders says here, we need to send emergency cash payments of $2,000 to every person in America each month for the duration of this pandemic. And what I like about Bernie is the same thing that Andrew Yang was saying. Send the basic income to the rich too. Let them donate it to charity. Let them burn it on a watch, whatever they want to do. Send it to everybody. Stop with this. The thing they're doing right now in Congress, they're spending a bunch of time figuring out who's going to get the aid, figuring out how they're going to give out the aid. As Andrew Yang said, we can just fire up those check printing machines. It's not that bad a problem if someone else got $2,000, went out into the economy and spent it right now. Nobody's spending anything. So, as God says at Tweet of God, either shut down all your non-essential services or wait for the virus to shut down your essential services. So, yes, it's coming. And that's from God.
Take note.
I know. 13,500 retweets. God has spoken. We talked about this already, that small businesses are going to be swallowed whole, and Walmart and Amazon are going to gain from this situation. They also have nice clocks at the British Museum. Very decorative, beautiful clocks. Take a look at that. You see that pirate ship? Actually a clock.
Sick.
That's a clock. And this is a astrolabe. It's a navigational device similar to a clock, kind of mislabeled. 3 things I have learned about the coronavirus crisis. Hospitals are not the front line in this war. You are. The medics treat the fallen. The virus doesn't spread. You spread it. There is no medical solution yet, and maybe ever. You are the solution. You see the difference between what Bill Neely here is saying and what the president's saying? He's not promising you a cure. He's trying to inspire you to act to protect yourself. He's not saying just rely on the magical government cure that's being fakely announced every single day on TV. Rely on yourself, self-reliance. So I think it's pretty important. Check out my friend Agi Leak. He's putting up new street art every day, although I don't know that he put up one today. But very cool street art. It says, art is life. Checking out the stats of the growth. They've added some countries as well as some cities onto this chart. You can see how well our strategy is working. Are we flattening the curve? Are we staying home? Or are mystical, magical cures helping us go out into the world? Or the fact that we live, like Mustafa said, somewhere in the Midwest, is that making us immune to the virus because we live somewhere in the Midwest? I sure don't think so. We can see here Italy is up here at the top, the purple line here. Above Italy, we have Switzerland. We have Washington. Let's see, Washington State's right here. The blue one is New York. Ooh, New York is climbing above Italy. So whatever steps they're taking in New York, whatever stoppage of civil liberties that you guys don't like, it's not even working. So they're going to need more. And the Italy thing, if you can see this Italy chart, I know people were upset that they can't walk their dogs, that they can't go outside, that they can't even go to a neighboring town. But it's because of the growth. It's because what they're doing to stop the growth, all the half measures aren't working. When it comes to stopping this thing, you have to quarantine. You have to stay home for 40 days. You can't have contact with other things. Like I keep telling my family who won't stay home, I'm like, every time you go out, your quarantine meter resets to 0. Like you are not effectively quarantined. You are now spread with everyone else that you met and everyone else who touched something. So no, the way to beat this is to stay home. There's no secrets. There's no shortcuts. That's the truth. Now, again, I could lie to you. I could say, hey, there's secrets and shortcuts. Don't stay home. Go out into the world. That would be a lie. Like, it makes you feel good, and it even makes me feel good to tell you, like when I told you the other day that you get a Tesla. You get a Tesla. You get a Tesla. You get a Tesla. Everybody gets a Tesla. But you see, I have no plans to follow through on that. I have no Tesla distribution system. I have no ways to pay for these Teslas. I didn't even take your names. How am I going to know to give you the Tesla that you were Rad Vladdy in the chat? I can't even give you your Tesla. I don't even have a Tesla myself. So it's a lie. It's not a helpful lie. As I've been saying, you should be watching Andrew Cuomo, governor of New York. He's been doing press conferences unlike the Trump press conference. He talks about nuts and bolts. He answers questions directly and honestly. It's completely different. It's completely different. As they've said here, the data is sufficiently widespread and numerous to make it likely that the Black Death swept away around 60% of Europe's population. The size of Europe's population at the time was 80 million. That implies that around 50 million people died. So don't stay home. Don't wear gloves. Don't wear a mask. Go out in the street, get the Black Death, and help us reach our goal of 60% population destruction. Like, that seems to be what we're hearing. So, yeah, don't worry about it. Also had some cool pictures from Mayor Rothschild on Twitter. Sent us some cool pictures of Barcelona. Let's see here. Has the president, as of now, ordered any companies to make more of these critical supplies? Which, again, all you have to do, you have to lift that finger. We're looking for that finger to go up. Oh, is he going to lift that finger? No. No, he hasn't ordered any supplies. So once again, you can have all these acts, you can have all these tools, and when you get to the end of the video game and you won or you lost and you're looking back and you're saying, gosh, I had all these tools in my bag that I never used. All these tools. I never used them. It's very sad. They say we should do direct cash payments to Americans. It's the way to do it. We talked about the Tennessee versus Kentucky decision. Apparently, it's a lot better to live in Kentucky than Tennessee. You have a much better chance of living because you have a better governor. It's not the way it's supposed to be. Supreme Court said separate but equal is nothing. It's nothing. It's not equal. Separate but equal is not equal. But if you live in Tennessee, you have a greater chance of getting the virus than you live in Kentucky. So sad, very sad. And again, this will all be addressed later. We're going to have hearings. We're going to have discussions and debates for years, likely, about this. Here's the Slovakian president right here, in case you're wondering what leadership looks like. Do you see the way that she's wearing a mask? And, obviously, she's a woman. She's a beautiful woman. She's found a beautiful way to wear her mask. But still, look at the soldiers behind her. The soldiers are equally protected because they're also wearing masks. This is what all of our press conferences should look like. This is what all the president's speeches should look like.
It would be great in context, but this is fake. This is actually from back when she had a real bad flatulence problem.
I don't know about that. You got a link on that?
I know, it's obviously... I'm joking.
Well, people believe that, though. I mean, there's these people in the chat that just believe nonsense. So you're going to get them, and they're just going to believe it. They're going to be like, yeah, that's a fake picture. Clearly,
it's cool. It's a cool little mask, though. I'm surprised we haven't seen an influx of like cool designed. Well, I suppose there's a shortage.
It's because people don't give it. They don't care. I mean, we're not like. Did you see the Madonna video in her bathtub the other day? Everyone's super mad at Madonna because she's sitting in her bathtub with flower petals and a harp playing, and it's a fantastic old bathtub, and it's a beautiful room, and she's naked, and she's talking about the whole crisis. She's probably a 70, 80-year-old woman at this point. But, yeah, they're completely out of touch, celebrities in their giant mansions doing these videos, talking to everybody about how tough it is and how we're going to have to stick together. Really falls flat. As we say here, Derek is more optimistic today than a week ago. He says the world is awake. Here's a major Spanish economist hailing Denmark's plan, unthinkable a month ago, to bail out their whole economy. I think that so many economists have never agreed so much on one thing. And this is the idea that we should actually bail out the people, that we should try to keep things the same, go through the virus like a speed bump, not like an entire pothole where you lose the whole car. So he's optimistic. Things are starting to work outside. As the Florida governor says, he doesn't care. Florida governor hasn't closed the beaches. Florida governor hasn't reduced gatherings. So if you live in Florida, because of your poor government, you now have less of a life expectancy than if you lived in Kentucky. You're more like you lived in Tennessee. Or if you live somewhere like California, Nevada, Illinois, New York, where they're actually talking about closures and actually talking about fighting this thing. I like the attitude everyone says. They say, we don't have it in Florida yet. Isn't that great? We don't have the virus here yet, so we don't have to do anything, which is the same nonsense that the Americans were saying when it was running wild in China. China was shutting down entire regions. They were spraying the outside of buildings with some weird chemical. Everybody was freaked out about it. And the whole time we're like, we don't have it here. We don't need to get gloves or masks or ventilators or do anything. We don't have it here. So yeah, they're going to have it in Florida. We've had huge declines in pollution over major metropolitan areas as if we were causing the pollution ourselves. I wonder, man-made climate change really seems fake right now when I look at this graph of more nitrogen O2 in the atmosphere here in Los Angeles in March 2019 versus March 2020. When I look at this graph of us stopping our activity and nature coming back, same way when I look at a graph after 9/11 when we stopped air travel in the United States and the environment here started coming back, I think man-made climate change is a myth. We should keep polluting. We should keep polluting because it's not here yet.
It should be interesting to see the stats at the end of this year, though, if it's growing so obviously to do with humans and specifically, flights always get, a lot of the a lot of the rap, then with this huge reduction in flights, we should be seeing either a temperature decrease or a slowing of the temperature increase.
Well, at least for a year. But
Yeah.
oh, there was the old poor Jennifer video. I assume it's been taken down by now, but this was a sad video of a lady. She was video conferencing with all of her workmates, and you could see it almost happen in slow motion. She's walking around the house with a laptop. She's going into another room with a laptop. I wonder what room this is. Uh-oh. She's sitting down on the toilet with a laptop next to her. And everyone went all crazy, and they were like, poor Jennifer. And the sad part is this video actually has her full name on it, so I don't think it's a good idea to play it on the air. But
Googling it right
poor
now.
Jennifer.
No,
sad to see.
I wouldn't watch that.
Oh, she's
That's voyeurism or something.
It's not even her fault. I mean, it's just everyone's getting used to working at home, and it's just how it's going to go. So
yeah,
you can help on the ventilator shortage. The doctor right here on the front lines tells you how you can help. Politicians and celebrities are getting tested for COVID with apparent ease that should make everyone else furious. Just heard from a doctor this weekend who spent 5 hours and 15 phone calls trying to get approval to test a patient who needed it medically. Instead, we're testing all the politicians and celebrities. So it does look a little bad that they're not having any trouble getting tests. Again, it would be incredibly valuable if someone like Tom Brady or someone like that would go on the air and say, hey, I went to the hospital and I couldn't get a test, and there's not enough tests here, and I need help, and we need help. That would be so humanizing. Just like the staffer in Vice President Pence's office who had it. Not that I certainly don't want the president or vice president to get sick, but if they did, it might give them some humanity on this, some empathy of what it feels like. Or even if they had a family member who got sick and they could talk to them and they could get information from them about what it feels like. I just think it would be great. As
I just
Elizabeth,
watched that video. It's hilarious.
oh, poor Jennifer. Yeah,
Savage,
poor Jennifer.
yeah.
It's tough
You see
times.
the other people's faces suddenly going. Savage.
They're saying in the chat that we can't be critical of the president. Well, you have to be. It's the point of being American, like free speech. But anyway, we're moving
No
on.
man must be critical of the president.
That's right. As Elizabeth Warren says, millions may now lose their jobs, and Trump wants our response to be a $500 billion slush fund to boost favored companies and corporate executives while they continue to pull down huge paychecks and fire their workers. You got to keep an eye on this new bailout. Once again, if you just want to know what he really thinks, how he really feels, they just picked up the old tax cut playbook, and they said, what's next in the book? What's our next tax cut? And they're just trying to push it through. So we'll see how that goes. Peter Segal writes, I just swapped a box of Trader Joe's O's cereal in a parking lot for 2 video games, which is not like anything I saw on The Walking Dead. Just thought it was a great story. People swapping cereal for video games. Shout out to Ramp Capital, who's taken the bear market badly. He says, if your house doesn't look like this after being quarantined for 30 days, it never will. And it's a great time to do the whole organization thing. Although these people are a little over the top with the color coding. Might be some OCD going on. But great time to organize your house. Get rid of stuff. The way to get it to look like this is to get rid of things. This person has, and also have a giant closet, but get rid of things. Have less stuff. Only keep things that are useful. Hey, here's a makeshift bed facility in the United States starting to get ready. This is kind of what the military guy was talking about. As you can see, these could have been set up months ago. These could have been set up all over the country, and we could have said, gosh, we wasted so much money getting prepared for that virus that never came. Oh, what a bummer. We don't get to use any of those. We're going to have to save them for next time. We're going to have to write reports next time that maybe we should have less beds, or maybe we should have more beds, or maybe we should have some gloves. Have some gloves and some masks for our hospital people. Maybe next time. So there's the mayor thing. We played that already. I love this response to Jimmy Song's church article. The guy says, not everything is a conspiracy, despite how badly you want it to be. And I really don't think they're conspiring to keep him from worshiping in his church. I think they're conspiring to keep him safe and to stop the spread of the virus, because the spread of the virus affects us all. So if you don't stay home and you go out and get people sick and you come home and get people sick, what you're doing is spreading the virus. You're hurting our ability to get back to normal. Until we stop the spread of the virus, we're never going to go back to normal. So it's not a conspiracy theory. It's actually a virus. And if it is a conspiracy theory later, let's punish the people, right? Let's fine them later. Let's have trials. Shout out to Dan's dog. About time we had a dog on the show.
Yeah, this is Dave Growl.
Aw, good dog. See, I think we should show the animated British Museum clock. It only takes a second. Look at that. All the little pieces
Cool.
animated inside, moving all the time. And this is a total classic work. Looks, 19th century, 1800, something like that. So we used to build beautiful things. Here's a Babylonian lion. This is from Nebuchadnezzar's
Oh, that was cool.
throne room in Babylon. And if you go to Berlin, they have an entire section of these bricks that they also borrowed from Babylon and reconstructed in Berlin. So you can check that out.
Then do they have to give back the Parthenon? Is that right? The columns of the Parthenon?
The last I'd heard is that the Greek government had tied it to the trade deal. So if the UK wants a deal with the EU, they might have to give back the Parthenon. But that's not a binding agreement. Nothing's been agreed. So the Greeks say they have a place for it, too, in the Acropolis Museum, that they're ready to go.
Oh, they've probably been waiting a long time.
I'm pretty sure they have like replicas or something in the spot where it would be, and they would take the replicas out. But they were also doing, it's funny, I was there, I went to the Acropolis Museum in Athens, and it was funny to see them kind of being guilty in the same way of the thing that the British did. And everybody's so down on it and everything. They stole all the panels, they chipped them off the building, they shipped them halfway across the country. But in the same way, the Greeks, in modern times, had brought in some panels from the Parthenon, and they were spraying them off. They were chemically cleaning them and lasers and all the magic stuff that you do. And it said on the little exhibit, it said, originally we had planned to restore these to the outside building, but instead we're keeping them. We're keeping them here. We're going to put replicas outside. So even they understood that the outside conditions, the acid rain itself, everything else, could destroy these statues. And that's kind of what the Queen was saying to Lord Elgin when she asked him to take the statues back. She was saying that they could be destroyed if they are left outside. Also, I think she probably meant, these crazy Greeks will destroy them as well. And it's funny, if you go to the Acropolis Museum, they talk about how the Parthenon was used as a, for Athens times, it was used as a church. It was used as a mosque. It was used as a monastery. It was used as a political building. I mean, it's been used for a lot of different purposes. So I really can see some of the Queen's point when she kind of says, well, those tiles would be better off with the British, and we can trust the British. That's kind of these holders of all of our history, that they are responsible to hold it. And, should they hold it, and is it in the right place, and all these questions? I mean, we have to answer, and we have to keep debating and discussing. But did they do a good job of holding them and not letting them get smashed? Yes. So even right here, we have Best of the British Museum, the cuneiform library. This is some of the oldest stuff in the museum, some of the hardest to understand. If you look at these sideways facing things, these are each a book or a tablet from, absolutely ancient times, cuneiform, Babylonian, Assyrian. As it says here, you shall rule over the kings of the lands. You shall show them their frontiers and set the courses they take. So it's kind of a song or something to a king. And it talks about the secrets of scribal art. And a lot of these are also business. Like this one here, the broken one with the 3 pieces. This text records the long history of interactions between the kings of Assyria and Babylonia. Like truly amazing, just amazing work here. And you can just go see this for, it's free. I mean, you could donate £10 or £5 or something to at the entrance, but it's free if you don't have any money. And you just have to get to London, England, and that's expensive. But here's a video that no one else on earth has. These are the guys painting the room for the new exhibit. Thought this was pretty cool. I was there just for the painting. But also, shout out to our friend in England. Victoria Jones has released her new book. It's an ebook on Amazon. You guys should check it out. It's only £1 or 99 pence, maybe $1.30 in American, maybe 120. And it's called Truth Decay: How Bitcoin Fixes This, Unveiling the Path to Financial Freedom. And it's a pretty interesting Bitcoin book because it's not written by a technical person. Victoria, in her previous life, was a dentist, and I've read parts of the book. She is very relatable, and it's written on a human scale. She tells a lot of her story through the book, how things were difficult to her, hard to learn, maybe some pitfalls that might affect you as well. By reading someone else's story, you can then go through it. So definitely check out Victoria's book, Truth Decay, on Amazon. What do you think, Dan? You know Victoria. Say something nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. I think she also did the Satoshi's page as well, which is pretty cool. So education about Satoshi, about Bitcoin and the monetary system, and also I'm pretty sure she did some stuff with like talking it through with her daughter as well. So which is really cool. A kid who's trying to learn and she's trying to teach her the concepts and to a young. It's pretty cool. Oh, headphones have died.
Dan's headphones are out of power. He's cut off.
Hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but there's like background sound. But just mute it for a second. Try to fix it. But yeah, I think maybe another a good topic for maybe if Victoria did a follow-up book was like Dan's saying, conversations with her daughter. Something about how to teach young people about Bitcoin, written in the same style. Because I've read part of this, and she writes it, and she's like, I was a dentist, and I knew this, and I didn't know about this, and I had to go read it. And it just has a very personal feeling that I think if people read it, they would be like, oh yeah, this is very relatable. This is like, I had those same questions, is what I would hope if they read through it. As it says here, if you guys want to say that I'm just blaming Trump or whatever, CNN.com, Trump made 33 false claims about the coronavirus in the first 2 weeks of press conferences. 33. So I'm not going to go through all of them individually. If you want to, I will. But this is a specific problem. This isn't like when Obama had the Ebola crisis and he handled it really quick and we hardly noticed it at all. He didn't go out and make 33 false statements during the Ebola crisis. This is a unique problem with this guy. And you can go read more about him. I mean, maybe you haven't really researched him at all beyond the TV show and the reality star and everything, but you can go read about him in the 80s and the 90s. I mean, I've been following this guy since I was, a 6-year-old kid, and I read The Art of the Deal. I mean, I played the Trump board game. I mean, this is a, national joke that we've been having. People in New York City, people who read the tabloids, people who pay attention. And then you just coming in late. You're like a child wandering into the middle of a movie saying, what's going on? What's happening? I need the scoop. And the rest of us are like, no, we know all about this guy. As Balaji says here, if we wanted to solve the problem, he's got giant tweet storms and he'll solve the problem for you right here. Balaji was actually considered to work for the Trump government and at one point deleted his entire Twitter history. He was being considered for, I think, Health and Human Services, a committee that would be very much involved right now. So he could very much be in this government helping it, but instead he's out here writing Twitter threads, and he's got a complete thread on what China did. So if we wanted to copy what China did in this country, we could do that. Same thing for South Korea, Taiwan, SG, what they did. And it's one of those humility things. If only we were humble enough to examine the world and learn from it. It's like a little prayer that we could give. Like, I pray that my government will examine the world and learn from it, rather than trying to do it their own way, rather than assuming that they know right, rather than assuming that they know it all. That could be some kind of little magical prayer for humbleness that we could give. I think, unfortunately, it would be mainly sarcastic and facetious, where people are just like, yeah, there is no humbleness. Yeah, there is no hope for learning from other people or listening to them, or even having the doctors in and interviewing them, probably because, he'd say they have weird voices or they sound weird. They don't talk English right. You can't understand them. So as Will Cole says here, and I think this is a really strong statement, deserves a lot more than 233 retweets, I think, although that's nice. He says, we're about to experience the greatest contrast in monetary policy ever seen. As world fiat currencies inflate rapidly over the next 52 days, Bitcoin issuance will cut in half. For people who haven't taken notice yet, this will be almost impossible to ignore. And this may be one of the reasons that the Bitcoin price is up 8% while the stock market's down 3%, even though the Federal Reserve promised to print $3 billion and to shove it into any hole they've got in the bond market. Just shove it right in there. Unlimited buying, they said. Infinite cash they're going to print. So it is really a contrast with the halvening coming up. And I think everyone wanted to celebrate the halvening at an all-time high and so on and so forth. But regardless of the price of Bitcoin, the halvening is going to happen. The supply is going to go down by half while the world is printing money like crazy. So I think that's going to be an interesting contrast. I agree with Will. And we made it to the infinite guy. We got up here, infinite cash to support the system. Let's see. In Hong Kong, 36 people under mandatory 2-week home quarantine were found to have left their place of confinement without permission following police spot checks. Government of Hong Kong has no idea where 31 of the 36 people are. So once again, no one likes to stay home. No one likes to follow the rules and the government. And the government's holding back my freedoms. Well, here's your voluntary quarantine. They tried it in Hong Kong. They said it was mandatory. They didn't even say it was voluntary, but they didn't bar the doors. They didn't put guards on it. And according to this, 31 of the 36 people, all but 5, walked out to infect more people. So this is a second wave infection here for Hong Kong. They had the first wave. They're going to have a second wave. And this is why the force comes up. And everyone's like, why can't we just do this voluntarily? Why won't people just stay in quarantine voluntarily? Why won't they do it? We don't even have to tell them. We don't have to warn them. This is why. They just walk off. And again, we're having a reasonable discussion here. I'm asking you to act with your higher self, yourself above yourself. Like, what would a better person than me do? And a better person than me would stay home and not get anyone sick, and they wouldn't take any chances with it. Whereas these 35 people, they're more important. What they have to do is more important than not getting everyone sick in our society. And yes, there's times to be selfish, and there's times not to be selfish. And this is a time not to be selfish. And certainly no one's saying that on TV. No one's telling you that. They don't even really like to talk about moral things or to use words like this because people get so triggered and upset, like what's going on in the chat. But we have to. These moral things don't go away. The 35 people walked out of quarantine. Like 31 people out of 36 walked out of quarantine. Like, that's why, and again, they're like, oh, you're such a statist, you're using force. Again, I'm an anti-virusist. We're going to stop the virus. We're going to do and afterwards, sure, it's great. We can all Monday morning quarterback. Oh, you could have done this, or oh, you didn't need to do that, or whatever. And we're going to do that. And we're going to do it a little bit daring too. But we're going to stop the virus. At least that's my goal. And looks like Caitlin Long, I'm going to go and call this prediction correct. I think that 15 hours ago, she was absolutely right based on weekend events of which she had no direct knowledge and is just putting puzzle pieces together. The United States effectively nationalizes a huge swath of its bond markets tomorrow, disabusing any remaining notion that the U.S. is a capitalist economy. I'm not sure about the second part. She went a little far there. But I do agree that the Federal Reserve printing $300 billion and claiming to buy back unlimited assets is what she's talking about, saving the bond market. So right on you, Caitlin. Correct prediction. More best of the British Museum, although sadly one of these is kind of out of focus, the Assyrian lion. But you can kind of see the size. Maybe the lack of focus gives you the size. This is the statue of Corfu from Egypt. It's huge. It's also up in the air a little, as you can see. The bottom half's really damaged. Classic sarcophagus from Egypt, of course. They have an incredible room full of mummies at the British Museum. It's almost always crowded. People go to the Rosetta Stone, then they go up to the mummies. And I'd say they have maybe 14, maybe 20 of these sarcophaguses. This is one of the nicer ones. Incredible detail on the outside. They also let you see the inside on a lot of these. Some of them were even painted on the inside. Great stuff. And then this is why does it look so nice? Come on, scientists. It's fake. It's a reconstruction. But they have the original. They show you the original as well. This is a Viking's helmet from a Viking ship. Like most things in the museum, it says lost at sea, recovered, purchased by the British Museum. So they purchased the whole Viking ship and they reconstructed this helmet. That's why it looks so nice. If you ever seen anything historic that looks too good, it's probably a reconstruction. If you see something like this, missing half of its head, broken in half, separated, no arm, that's real. That one's real. But again, they make casts of these too, so could be a cast.
It's a very nice helmet.
It is.
Yeah.
I like the details, the previous fights that he's been in. When I saw this recently, I thought, imagine meeting someone that's wearing this. Like they're wearing their previous battles on the helmet. The proof of their greatness arrives via their head, via pictures on their head. So
like the like scout badges.
Absolutely. He's coming. Shout out to Victoria. She thanked me for the retweet, and she also mentioned me and the World Crypto Network in the introduction of her book. So very cool. In the acknowledgments or something. So cool. We were also mentioned in this blockchain book over here, and I think Jimmy Song mentioned us in his programming Bitcoin book. So very cool. We're stacking up those acknowledgement mentions. So if you get like 3 of them, you get a free ice cream or something. So I'm hoping. As it says here, here's the comment from Dr. Fauci. In case you thought I was making it up, he says, "I can't jump in front of the microphone and push him down." That's about the president, right? That's I don't know where the link went because I have too many windows open, but that's the doctor from the CDC who's supposed to be in charge, and he says, "What do you do about Trump's comments?" And again, it's not just me. You're like, "Oh, Tom, you're making this up." Everyone thinks that Trump does a great job during the press conferences. Even the doctor that stands behind him going like this all the time. Everybody thinks it's great. So yeah, he says, "I can't jump in front of the microphone and push him down," after Trump's repeated assertions that China could have disclosed the coronavirus sooner. He says that suggestion does not comport with the facts, and he hopes that the president will be more careful about his remarks. Look at how nicely he calls him a liar. That suggestion does not comport with the facts. You, sir, are a non-comporter.
You are a non-comporter.
A non-comporter. You're out of line. I like this part too. He says, he goes his own way. He has his own style. So again, we're just trying to make this up. And again, it's fake news, the guy says in the chat, because we're quoting the doctor directly. Quoting the doctor directly who stands behind him is fake news. So keep working on that, guys. You need more responses. As he says here, Trump has expressed remarks in a way that I would not express it because it could lead to some misunderstanding about what the facts are on a given subject. That's exactly what I was saying to you. When he goes out there and says there's a cure, it could lead to some misunderstanding about what the facts are, that there is no cure. So that's the difference. It's right there from Dr. Fauci. It's not me. And again, find me the example from the Obama administration. You guys have all this time and it's such fake news. Go get me the Obama example where he's up there saying something that the scientist says is wrong. Then get me the article that the scientist wrote where he says, I couldn't just jump in front of President Obama as he said scientifically false things. Just go find it. I'm waiting. There should be lots of examples. I mean, we have 3 examples here from Trump. There were 33 misstatements in his press briefings in just the last 2 weeks. So it should be real easy. I'll wait. And again, also, for you guys in the chat with the big talk, call us up, man. 1-518-600-1949 or on Skype at the World Crypto Network. I'm out here talking talking live, impromptu, extemporaneously, if you will, if I get a quarter for the word. You're talking in a chat room. And you have to work. Well, most everyone's off work right now, but take your cigarette break, go outside, open up your flip phone, and call me, and tell me how I'm wrong. Tell me where your website is. Tell me where the Obama falsely claiming science website is. Like, I'll bring it up. I'm really reasonable. All these people call, I talk to them, I'm nice to them. I want your side of the story. I want the strongest argument that you can give me that this is fake news. Dr. Fauci himself stands behind the president, albeit too close. I would rather be 3 to 6 feet away, as the CDC and the medical rules say. He stands too close behind him. He doesn't wear a mask, so maybe he's not a doctor. We'll have to look that up. We'll have to see if his school was legit and all that. But it's clearly fake news. The man himself, out of his own mouth, says that Trump has expressed remarks in a way that I would not express it because, that's a conjoiner, it links the two statements together, it could lead to some misunderstanding about what the facts are. So he wouldn't discuss it that way because it would lead to misunderstandings about the facts. That's all I'm saying. That's not a political statement. That's a factual statement. These are logical statements. If you go out there and express things badly, leading to a misunderstanding, you shouldn't be at the press conference. And again, he doesn't have to be. He's the president. He could pay people to do the press conference who are great at talking, who are doctors, who are generals, and so forth. And when it's time to make a political speech, and if he wants to promise miracles in the political speech, it's more acceptable. It's political speech. It's a different venue rather than these daily press conferences. These daily press conferences, we need something more like Governor Andrew Cuomo from New York or the general that I played for you this morning. We need just the facts, ma'am. We don't need to stop about magical cures. We don't need just the facts and a few distractions, because that's harder to understand. And it even wastes our time, really. If we want to talk about, let's keep these briefings short. Let's keep them to the point. Maybe people would actually watch them. We could actually get information like the gentleman from South Korea said. He said that, they have information here, not just an hour in the morning, 24 hours a day. They have coronavirus information on TV in South Korea, according to the phone call this morning. How much would that cost us in America? Not that much. We have channels. We have C-SPAN. We have C-SPAN 2. There are other channels. Certainly we could nationalize one of the channels that someone's not using. There's probably extra channels. You could probably just add things to cable channels at this point. It's not really a technical issue. We don't have that. We don't kind of have a factual channel just saying, stay home, wear masks, wear gloves, make your own gloves. Don't go out. There was the announcement this morning that the Fed would be printing $300 billion and infinite open-ended, that's what they're calling it, open-ended asset purchases. That means forever. And this caused a major jump on the Dow futures, but this didn't work when the market opened. This 5% futures jump did not translate the market. It's about 3% down right now. I haven't looked in a little while. So even this infinite money printing, open-ended asset purchase wasn't enough to calm people's fears. Why not? Why won't Wall Street calm down? Well, obviously, the president's got a miracle cure, and that Thomas Hunt is full of fake news. So that's one problem, right? But on the other problem, if we assume that Wall Street knew more than miracle cures and fake news, then we would assume that Wall Street's looking at earnings. And they're saying, well, nobody could go outside. Nobody went to the bar or restaurant. The bar or restaurant stocks are down. The cruise stocks are going to be down. The airplane stocks are going to be down. Even the computer stocks. Not a lot of people buying a new computer right now. Nobody's buying anything. So
people buying guns like nobody's business, aren't they?
Oh yeah, guns will go up. Walmart's going up. Staples are going up. I mean, Amazon, and I don't mean Staples the company, but staples like food staples, basic things. Well, it's important. It's confused. We're talking about companies.
It's like
but,
stationary.
Yeah. So, but yes, there are some winners in this, but in general, everyone's going to come up to earnings and they're going to say, well, last quarter we told you we were going to sell 1 million iPhones, right? But this thing happened and we sold 100,000 iPhones, which is a huge break. Like whenever you don't succeed expectations in Wall Street, your stock goes down because they're punishing you for failing them. And then they're going to have to say, well, next quarter, we don't know how many iPhones we're going to sell either because this thing, or maybe we say, hey, this thing's gone. We think it's going to go back to normal. We're going to sell a lot of iPhones. Even then on CNBC, they had to caution the guy. The guy was like, I'd buy BMW. BMW has lots of cash. It's a good company because of that. And Kramer got out there and he said, wait a minute. Who do you think's going to buy a luxury car after this thing? Who gets out on the other end of the crisis? And they're like, good thing that's over. Let's go spend a bunch of money. Now, certainly extremely rich people, but normal people are not going to be buying an expensive car, an expensive computer. If anything, when this ends or if it ends or whatever, I'm going to go out to the store and refill my stockpile. And I'm going to start living off of stockpile. And I know we're all going to change to this staying inside. I've said it already. The computer geek that's inside of me is inside of all of you now. You're listening to headphones. You're staying home. You're looking at your phone all the time. You're going to be into Bitcoin soon as well. Spoiler alert. And you might want to look at Star Trek a second time. But yes, geek culture continues to take over the world, whether we like it or not, in good and bad ways, making us all social anxious and staying home and afraid of everything. But yeah, the earnings are going to be bad. The market's going to be bad. I still think that what the Bill Ackman suggested a few days ago on CNBC is a good idea. 30-day holiday. Take a break. Let's turn this machine off for a while. We're not going to make any money today. Just go away, come back in 30 days. I'll bet if we did that, I'll bet it would go up when we went away, and I'll bet it would go up when we came back. So, all right, the guy in the chat still fighting about Obama and Ebola, and he's using Hussein to try to tie him to Saddam. So you're just losing on a lot of cases, man. Like we've got.
Fun fact: my mum was born on the same day as Saddam Hussein, and they do share some very small characteristics.
Yeah. As it says here, United States axed the CDC expert job in China months before the outbreak and did not bring them back. They did not rehire anyone. So they fired the person in charge of China, and then they didn't rehire anyone. But that doesn't worry you about the competence at all. That's actually what you prefer. You prefer that they would fire the person in charge of Center for Disease Control because they're an expert. And all experts, as you know, are liars. So those liars were only going to try to protect you from the disease that isn't even real. Like, it's not even real. I mean, you should just run out in the street. It's fake news. Come on, man. Get out there. Don't wear a mask. You can do it. So we'll see if he checks back tomorrow, if he's got the virus yet. I'd like to see him out there licking toilet seats. If you really love Trump, you'd be licking toilet seats. Obviously. Come on. And Bitcoin, however, did jump after the Fed launched a $300 billion asset buyback because the Bitcoin market never closes, so we didn't have to wait for it. It happened right after the jump. It went, woo, right up, and then up a little more, and then up a little more, and then back to where it is or whatever. So still going, still making it through. We had some more quotes here. We did the Kramer this morning. Those Florida college students, they've tested positive for the coronavirus after their spring break trip. So there's the follow-up towards the great spring break video we played the other day where they're like, hey, man, if I get sick, I get sick. I'm here to party, man. I brought a lot of beers, and we're here from New York, man. We've been planning this for 3 months, man. Got to do it. So here's another good one. This is from inside the White House. Must be fake news because it's written in English. White House aides not confident the president can maintain focus on a global pandemic that could kill hundreds of thousands or even millions of Americans. A grim reminder is where we are as a country. And as he writes here, aides said that how Mr. Trump ends up being perceived would also depend on Mr. Trump's own disposition during the crisis. It is not clear to them, the people who work with him, whether he will be able to maintain his focus on the crisis for months. So there you go. He's not even going to be able to maintain his focus on the crisis because of his attention span. And that's the people who work with him. So you could just read what Alex wrote here, 3,000 words on the Dispatch about exactly what went wrong with coronavirus testing in the United States. If you're looking for war, mistakes they might have made, looking for logic and reason and reality to pop through your bubble. Despite infinite money printing, the market opens down 2%. As Kramer said, there's no demand. Nobody's buying anything. And you just keep printing the money. Just keep printing it.
Sell, print.
Kramer also said that
Bitcoin.
companies that need to be bailout are very sensitive and don't want to use the word bailout. Oh, that's nice. And so even Kramer said that the president talking about potential cures ruins our ability to test them because no one would want to use the placebo in the double blind. Kramer says himself, I wouldn't. I want the one the president has a good feeling about. So actually he's destroying science by sending out untested medication without testing it. That's the opposite of how we do things. So Kramer even said they gave people script in the 30s, gift cards that you could only use at food stores, and that you have to get creative. You have to get money back into the people's pockets. And finally, Rand Paul has been diagnosed with the coronavirus. They said that he worked out that same day, despite the fact that the Capitol gym was closed as they were trying to mitigate the virus. Senators had continued to access the gym via keypad. So if you can't get people to stay home when they have the virus, and you can't get senators to not work out in the same room when they're trying not to spread the virus, when one of the senators already has the virus, what you have is idiocracy. Everyone's homework assignment. Thanks for sticking with us this far, especially if you hate us. That makes it even better. But either way, haters and neutral or maybe trending a little towards like, everyone's assignment is to watch the movie Idiocracy and report
You've got
back.
a poster of that, haven't you, in your...
Yeah, I got a great Idiocracy poster. I've got it on Apple iTunes. I went ahead and bought it off their store. It was like $10, so I have it on all my devices at any time. But Idiocracy is the guy who did Beavis and Butthead, Office Space, Silicon Valley, Mike Judge, absolute classic, and it describes our society. It's very sad, and basically it shows how the dumber people are taking over and our society is getting dumber. And a lot of people refer to this movie as a documentary. They say that it was supposed to be a comedy, but it turned out to be a documentary. And we should check out Idiocracy because the senator continuing to work out despite being infected with the disease or possibly infected with the disease is just absolutely out of idiocracy. It just doesn't have any connection to reality, and it's just horrifying. As Andreas says, just so we're clear, large corporations, banks, and investors already got their bailout today, Fed QE Infinity and asset buys. The rest of us, let them eat homemade avocado toast, if you can find avocados, or toast. Crony kleptocracy masquerading as a free market economy. Pretty rough stuff from Andreas. Hate to see him getting political too. It's almost like you have no choice in the times of the virus but to be political and honest, if that's your choice to be honest. As Richard Feynman, legendary mathematician and scientist, said, "You are under no obligation to remain the same person you were a year ago, a month ago, or even a day ago. You are here to create yourself continuously. So if you want to change your mind on any of this, we're not going to hold you responsible. If you want to go read the article about the 33 mistakes that Trump may have made on the race to this thing, if you want to think more about announcing miracle cures in serious press conferences, almost like something Scooby-Doo would do, or Shaggy, like, oh, if only we hadn't invited that idiot to the press conference, it would have been fine. You kids and your dog. I hate it when they ruin the press conferences. So, and remember, as they said in Casablanca, my dear Rick, when will you realize that in this world today, isolationism is no longer a practical policy? And I think that's where we're going to end it today. We've got about 10 minutes left till noon, but we've been on for at least 2.5, almost 3 hours. Thanks so much for a couple of guys for calling in. I had a good time chatting with you guys. Thanks to everybody in the chat, arguing back and forth. It's good to have a discussion. It's good. Even if we disagree, maybe we can shake hands and agree to disagree.
Don't shake hands, for fuck's sake.
Oh, yeah, we can't shake hands anymore. Let's out.
Iris, sorry.
Well, we'll have to go namaste to each other. All of our expressions are gone now. And I don't think elbow bumping is a good idea, really, if you want to know. The FDA says that.
You could hit someone in the face and they could have...
Well, what, you sneeze in your elbow and then it climbs to the other side, then it jumps on someone else.
When you're licking your elbow...
I'm doing that all the time, yeah. So I'm into the namaste. Namaste, let's agree to disagree. Or you guys can keep cold warring. I don't care. But thanks so much for giving us thumbs up and share. Subscribe down below. Hit the bell for notifications. You can always make little links to this show. If you want a link in the comments, you can say, at 22:30, this was an interesting point, or at 45:52, there was a big debate, or whatever you want. You can make some links in the comments. That'd be fun. You can send links to this around. You can go talk about it on Reddit, all kinds of things. So we've got it all. Dan, anything you want to say in closing? Anything going on?
Just keep safe. And I know how much of a struggle. Probably like, oh, what are you? Can you hear me? Can you ask me?
Yeah, but only when you started talking did it start going out. Technology.
Right, yeah. So keep safe, and I know how hardcore it is to like get your parents to stay in, and like I'm having the problem at the moment. I think you Tom have the same thing. It's I tweeted earlier. I was like, for the first 17 years of my life, I had to beg to go out and continuously give reasons as to why I should be allowed out and why the world's not so bad. And 20 years on, and I'm literally going, come on, guys, just stay the hell inside for a few days. And they're like, no, my freedom, my life, my freedom. Like, guys, geez. So, so just try and convince them and, make them, try not to make them panic as well at the same time. But it's definitely very serious. We've all clubbed together, and it's good really kind of seeing some cool stuff happening in communities now, with people sort of helping and sharing and stuff. But yeah, I think the best
all you have to do is stay inside. Stay inside. All right. Thanks so much. Until next time. Bye-bye.